Welcome. I don't know what that was all about, but we're going with it. Welcome to Criminally Confident. My name is Lacey Jane, and it's Friday, so it's always a little bit more chill on Fridays. Okay, if you notice, my face is going down. My tripod is just down to its last couple days. If you could do me a favor, I'll go back to that thought. But if you could do me a favor before I forget, can you please make sure to like the stream by hitting that thumbs up button? That helps the algorithm greatly. And I have been getting my butt kicked by the algorithm recently. So that would be greatly appreciated. And as I was saying earlier, Fridays are usually pretty tame around here. Don't know why, but we are going to do our best to finish this trial. Like, I'm trying to minimize my comments and at least not stop the stream today so that we can move forward and start something new next week. So without further ado, let me put this on for you. Ha ha ha. And don't forget to post in the chat. We love to hear from you guys. Thanks. Ow. So graceful.
On call number UU, which is on May 4th, 2016, around 11 minutes into the call, it's a call with you and your mom. You ask your mom if everything is okay, and she says she doesn't want to talk on the phone, and you ask her whether you should come down, and you agree to meet the next day. Do you remember that call?
Yeah, I do.
What did you think when that call happened? Did you think that there was another activity?
Yeah, sure.
And in fact, excuse me, on that morning, your mom had received a text in the early morning which said, "So you don't take me serious. You think I'm playing. You have some puta call me to see if I'm for real. If you think what Katie baby daddy did for you can't come back, you're fucking crazy. I want the number now, or I'm going after the 100K. The 100K that they're threatening to go after is what? Do you know what the 100K is?
The reward for the solving the murder of Dan Markel.
Oh.
And you see that text. Did you go meet with your parents the next day on May 5th?
Yeah, I went down in the afternoon the next day.
And when you saw that
My
text,
cat's birthday.
did you take it as more threatening or less threatening than the prior activity by law enforcement?
Much more threatening.
And how were your parents when you saw them?
My mom was upset. I mean, she gets a message, text at 2 o'clock in the morning from some nut who may be a Latin King gang member, and maybe we're wrong, and it's not the police, and it is a Latin King gang member.
Now, at this point in time, though, what was your firm belief?
I was fairly certain it was the police.
So you have this discussion with your parents, and I think it was outside by the pool, right?
Yeah.
Community pool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what do you and your parents decide?
I said it's more than likely the police, but it still could be some crazy guy who's not afraid. I mean, I'm very afraid of Sigfredo Garcia, so this person is obviously not afraid of him. So it's either it could be a nut or it could be the police. I said, I want to hear him one more time to confirm that that is the police. So when I spoke to them, I said, you know what, can you please call this guy up and record the conversation so I can hear him again.
Okay. Now, you leave your parents' house and you go to a friend's business. Do you recall that?
Yeah, I went to my friend Adam's office.
Okay.
Hi, Mamie.
And at some point in time, while at the business, there is a call, and I believe this is YY. Well, before YY, there's a call where you're talking with Catherine Magbanua, right?
Yes.
And you tell her that you're going to call her from a landline, correct?
Yes.
Now, first of all, why do you tell her you're going to call from a landline?
Because I was just pulling into his parking garage and I was about to lose reception. Get into the elevator and I get bad reception in his office.
When you called her from the landline,
yep.
Did you call her cell phone or did you call another landline?
No, I called her cell phone and I told her I was calling her from a landline because if she didn't recognize the number, she may not pick up. So I was telling her I'm going to call you back in a minute. I'm going to call you from the office.
Did you tell her, I want to call you from a landline to another number?
No, I wasn't trying to hide anything. I just wanted to have good cell service.
Did you do star 67?
No. I just didn't want her to see the number and not pick up because she won't recognize it.
Now, On May 6th, after some calls back and forth, your mom reaches the undercover, correct?
Yes, she does.
And we've heard that call with your mom, but what does she tell the undercover to do?
She says to him, go to the police and go get your reward. Call the police. If you know what happened, go tell them what happened and collect your reward.
Oh, that's ballsy, Donna.
Now, you and your mom had known what had happened to some degree for 20 some odd months.
I found out a lot in 2016 before I went into the restaurant, but yeah, we knew a lot more than the police did.
Why didn't you go to the police and collect your reward?
I would have been killed. I didn't want to tell anybody. So they would come after my family.
Now, after your mom speaks to the undercover, she speaks with you, right? And that's State's Exhibit CCC.
Yes.
They're such idiots.
And she says that she used a handpiece. You remember that?
Yeah.
What is the handpiece that she's referring to?
I'm assuming it was her cell phone, but I didn't know if it was her cell phone or if she recorded it with an old-fashioned tape recorder or how she did it.
And she says that there's a new app she loaded. What did you understand that to mean?
I guess you loaded an app on your telephone that allows you to record a conversation.
And she said, you asked her how long was the call?
Totally
like
untraceable.
And she says that it was 8 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was significant to you. Why was it significant to you that the call was 8 minutes?
Because it meant the guy who was threatening wanted to talk for a while. And I mean, when someone's extorting you, they want something, they're straight to the point. They tell you what they want and what they're going to do to you if you don't pay. And an 8-minute call, again, wasn't the way it was done to me.
Now, during this call, there's words like patient used by your mom, models, dental models. Why is she talking the way she's talking?
I'd lectured my mom on being really careful about what you say. I don't want to talk about anything involving the extortion or anything that happened. So she went overboard with some things. I mean, she could have been more blunt, but I mean, this was just her overall just being super careful.
Is your mom scared?
Extremely scared.
The next day, May 7th, do you meet with your parents?
Yes, they came to my house.
And what did you do with your parents when you met with them?
I went outside and my mom played the recording of the supposed Latin King gang member that was trying to extort my family for money.
And after you heard the recording, what did you think and how did you feel?
Oh, I felt so much better. I mean, I wasn't happy that the police thought that we did a murder, but I was very happy to know that it wasn't the Latin Kings that were extorting my family again, and that nobody was going to get hurt, nobody was going to get killed. So I felt very relieved.
Now, DDD, which is a call on May 7th in the evening, is a call where you're talking about a CD and dropping the mic, and there's a lot of background noise in the back. First of all, where are you when this call is happening?
Okay, it was a Saturday. It was the Fort Lauderdale Air and Sea Show, and I was on a small boat with my friends, and they were blasting the radio, and I was drinking, and that's when I made the call or picked up the call.
And why are you talking the way you're talking on the boat? How many people are on that boat?
There was like 6 or 7 people standing around me, and I wasn't about to let anybody know what was going on in my life.
And again, why are you relieved?
I'm relieved that it's the police. Nobody's going to get killed. My mom's, for 2 weeks was afraid that someone was going to get hurt her, and then someone else in the family was going to pay. My dad wasn't going to work. He thought he was going to get killed in the parking lot. And then after hearing that call, that's not a worry of mine anymore.
Do you remember when you found out that Sigfredo Garcia was arrested?
Yes, I do.
How did you find that out?
I got a text message. Either a text, it was a text message I got.
And did you think that you were about to get arrested as well?
Good afternoon,
Did I fear I was going to get arrested?
Yeah.
I didn't think I should get arrested, but I know that this was definitely the police that were doing this investigation. I know why they were doing it, is they thought that we were part of this murder.
Did you ever reach out to Catherine Magbanua after the arrest?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because my friend, who's a close friend of mine, an attorney, called me up on the phone, and he said, do not call Katie and do not talk to anybody about this case or what's going on. And Katie never called me either.
With regards to Catherine Magbanua, when the arrest occurred of Catherine Magbanua, did you still think that she was not guilty?
Yes.
When did that opinion change, and when did you realize that she was actually the person behind the extortion?
It wasn't until 2019 when she went to trial, and she said that she never knew who Dan Markel was. She didn't say anything about what really happened. I found out then that she was cheating on me with Sigfredo Garcia, and she was sleeping with him at the same time she was with me. She was lying about that. And then I saw her bank account.
Didn't know
I was
that.
not broke. Like, I was getting played, and I saw all the money that was piling into her bank account.
And did all the pieces then start to come together for you?
Yeah. I realized what happened.
Now, we've heard some testimony that after the bump and after the arrest, your personality changed.
For
Is
sure.
that testimony true?
Yes, it is.
Why did your personality change?
I mean, the police thought that I was part of a murder. They're releasing a probable cause affidavit saying that they want to arrest me for murder. I didn't have anything to do with the murder. I knew that there wouldn't be evidence to show I had anything to do with the murder.
Hit that like
But,
button, please.
You know, it's scary as hell to think that you're one signature away from losing your life.
Now, we've also heard some testimony that throughout the years, you would get upset when you would see or hear the news about this case.
Yes, very.
Why would you get upset?
Because they don't have any idea what really went on. And I couldn't say anything to anybody.
Charlie, I'm going to ask you again. Did you have anything to do with the murder of Professor Dan Markel?
Absolutely not.
Were you a principal in his first-degree murder?
Absolutely not.
Did you conspire in any way to murder him?
Absolutely not.
Did you solicit anyone to murder him?
Never.
One moment, Your Honor.
Done?
Tom? How's it going, guys? What are you guys doing this weekend?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ooh,
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
you bet, Your Honor.
Do a quick audio test since Mr. Rashbaum was hooked up, Your Honor, before we get going here.
That's an excellent idea.
Fair enough.
Oh man, is this like a whole thing again? No. This looks like it's gonna go quicker. I know I've said it every single day. I just can't believe his mother never showed up one day. Okay, Frodo. Ooh, gonna go get your swole on. You trying to impress someone? It's like really hot in here. I guess I can turn on the fan.
Okay.
Mr. Adelson, is it doctor?
It is. Yes.
All right, doctor. I've heard you saying
Doctor.
that the simplest explanation is always the most likely. Have you heard that?
I've heard that theory before, yeah.
Was your explanation
Love that
to the jury
video.
over the last little over a day the simplest explanation?
It was the truth.
Do you, I mean, you have a thorough explanation. Would you agree with that?
I told you what happened.
Do you agree that the only problem with having an explanation for everything is that there's just so many explanations?
There's no explanation. I explained what happened.
I want to go through some of that. You claim that you were extorted on July 18th, 2014 by Catherine McDaniel and also in the background, some Latin Kings, probably Garcia and Rivera, right? Is that accurate?
No, I wasn't extorted by Catherine McBride.
You weren't. Okay, who-
That's not what I believed in 2014.
Okay, I'm sorry. I understood you to say you believe that today.
Today I did, yes.
All right, so who extorted you?
I believe that it was Catherine McBride's friend that she ran her mouth to.
Okay.
And
And
that's
at the,
2014.
right, but as you sit here today, you think it's McDaniel, Garcia, and Rivera. Is that accurate?
No, that's not accurate.
Who extorted you?
As I sit here today, I believe that it was Catherine McBride, and I believe Sigfredo Garcia, but I don't know for sure. I was never there when she was ever talking to him, so I don't know if he was in on it with her or not.
All right. At the time, though, you did not think she was guilty. You got that right. The time of the
In
extortion.
2014?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
And then so exactly when you found out would be, I think you said, her trial.
That I suspected that she was not telling me the truth and she was a part of it was in 2019.
At her trial.
Yes.
All right. And so she was arrested in 2016, right?
Yes.
All right. So
I don't
for
know
3
what
years,
that
she was
switch
in the
is.
Leon County Jail awaiting trial. Yes.
She was there.
And you believed she was innocent.
Yes.
And you had this whole explanation to assist with exonerating her, right?
I have the truth of what happened. Yes.
But you didn't offer the truth of what happened, did you?
Nobody came to me. I thought the truth would come out.
Does someone have to come to you?
I was told not to talk to Katie and not to talk to anybody about this case by counsel.
So you strike that.
Mm.
On day one, which is July 18th, 2014, she is the only one that physically contacted you to conduct this extortion. Am I correct in that?
Yes, you are.
So you never actually had any contact with any Latin King?
No.
No phone calls?
No phone
No
calls.
texts?
No.
No letters?
Well, in 2016, you're talking about in 14, right?
I'm talking about the first layer of the extortion. Did you have any contact with the thugs that were getting your money for 2 years?
No.
Did anybody put a gun to your head?
I was told that I would be killed in 48 hours if I didn't pay up.
I heard you say that, but my question is, did anyone put a gun to your head?
You're asking me, did anyone pull a gun on me?
That's
Is
what
that
I
your
asked you.
question?
Oh my God,
nobody pulled a
Charlie.
firearm on me.
All right, so when Catherine Magdano came to you on July 18th and said, open the safe and give me all your money, she was not armed.
She was not carrying a gun that day,
And
no.
were you armed at that time? Did you have a weapon in your home?
I had weapons in my safe, yes.
Were you led to believe or told that the bad guys are outside, right outside your apartment or your residence?
No, but I was led to believe what they did to Dan, they were going to do to me.
I heard you say that, but my question is, did she say, like, the car's running, I'm going to take the money out there to him right now?
No, she never told me that they were waiting for me outside my house.
In fact, she stayed the night with you, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
They were high
And
on
didn't
Xanax.
exit your house with your $138,000 until the next day, right?
Correct.
And the money, the $138,000, was that stapled into $1,000 increments?
Each packet was $1,000, and they had a staple in it.
And stapling money's a little unusual. Would you agree with that?
For me, it wasn't unusual. That's what I did.
Right, but nobody else
Such
does.
a
That's why I'm
weirdo.
suggesting it's unusual.
I've never questioned people into how they keep their money, whether they keep it with a staple or paper clip or envelope. I just know what I do.
Would you agree, doctor, that it's a compelling
What?
piece of evidence that the killers were paid in stapled money and came up with that information in this case?
It's not compelling. The people who extorted me and got my money got it from my house, and it was stapled at my house.
They had to have gotten it from you, right? Because it was stapled.
If they got it from Katie, they got it from me.
So it had to be some kind of, I paid, but I did it under duress, based on that piece of evidence, right? That had to be built into your defense.
I was extorted, and I paid the money.
All right, so Katie comes in and she's in a panic and she tells you what's happened. And I need all the money in your safe right now. Do you suspect that maybe she's working with the police at that point? Maybe she's trying to set you up?
No, she didn't say I need all the money in your safe. That's not what she said.
Did she take all the money in your safe?
I cleaned out all the money in my safe and handed it to her
Right. Why did you do that?
because I was being extorted for $1,250,000.
But why didn't you? The bump was only $5,000, and you immediately became suspicious and questioning, and had all these conversations and deliberations about what to do about it for days. And when Katie comes to you, you just open the safe and give her the money, right?
That's what I did, and there's a big difference between the two.
Okay. Well, the way that it was done to you, is that the way it's done?
You have to be more specific.
Well, on the wire, you say repeatedly, that's not the way it's done. You knew that the undercover agent was law enforcement, or at least strongly suspected, because that's not the way it's done. And my question to you is, since you're an expert on extortion, because you've been extorted before, and that's how you knew that's not the way it's done, is this the way it's done? Do extortionists send a girlfriend of their victim to collect their extortion money? Is that the way it's done, doctor?
I'm telling you what happened to me, and I was told that if I didn't pay it in 48 hours, I would be killed. The person that came and extorted my mom, that was not the same approach as what happened to me.
Is that the only way? That's the only way it's done? They send a girlfriend?
It's the only time I've ever been extorted like that.
Okay. And did you hear
I'm an
any of the
expert.
negotiations? So they come in and they say, strike. They come in and they say, we need $1/3
You need to pay $1/3
You need to
million.
pay $1/3 Why not $1 million?
Because when I had told to Katie that the $1 million offer for Dan Markel, I said I was going to pay $1/300,000. And when she asked me, do you have that much money? And I said, yeah, I could pay it in cash. So she took it as I had cash, and she knew I had a ton of cash in my safe. So she thought I had the cash. I didn't have all that cash. So that's where I'm assuming they got the $1/300,000 from.
But the
idea.
offer that she bragged about was $1 million offer. Isn't that right? That she ran her mouth about.
I was never there when she spoke to her friend.
Okay. Was it $1 million offer?
The offer was that $1 million was going to be paid, and I was going to pay $1/300,000.
And weren't you going to cover Wendy's third as well?
No, not at all. I was going to cover my third.
Didn't your lawyer say in opening statement that you were going to cover the whole thing for Wendy's third?
No, I was sitting here. I heard what he said. Charlie was going to pay $1/300,000.
All right. And so the offer was $1 million offer, and that's what you told Katie, along with the fact that you were going to cover the third.
I was telling her that I was going to pay $1/300,000. Yeah. And then one day, if my sister was able to, she was going to pay me back.
And then you didn't have the amount of money that was being demanded at the time, right?
No, I only had what I had.
All right. And at that point, the
Good as
blackmailer,
a
Catherine
concealer as
Magdanoa,
well.
negotiates some type of layaway plan for you to complete the extortion with the Latin Kings.
Okay. Katie wasn't the blackmailer, and Katie wasn't the one who was extorting me.
Didn't you just tell this jury that Katie was the blackmailer? You realized it in 2019.
I had thought that when you were just talking, you were talking about 2014. You were talking about that night.
Okay.
So that's night happened in
Doctor.
2014.
Okay. We all know now, because you have revealed the puzzle piece. She's a blackmailer. Can we agree on that?
I believe sitting here in 2023
Yes.
that she was in on the extortion for sure.
Yes. So is it okay if I refer to her as a blackmailer?
I think there's a difference between blackmail and extortion, but yeah,
Okay.
it's sitting here today. We can. Sure.
We'll refer to her as an extortionist. So this woman, the extortionist, is going to do you a solid by negotiating with the Latin Kings for you to get on a payment plan for the extortion. Isn't that what happened?
What you're doing is you're taking what we know in 2003 and trying to say this is what I knew in 2014.
Did she put you on a payment plan?
Yes, she said, because I didn't have the money. She said, asked me if I could pay.
But it wasn't
$3,000
going
a month
towards the
in
principal.
2014, and I said yes, I can.
Did you hear any of the conversation where she was making these negotiations on your behalf?
No, when she said I'm going to go check with my friend and if that's okay with him, she took her purse, took her keys, took her cell phone. She walked out of my front door, closed the door behind her, and I sat in my living room. And she came back about 5 minutes later.
You didn't want to talk to the guy yourself?
My nose so red.
No, I didn't even think of that. I mean, but she went outside to call him.
All right. And then the two of you took a Xanax and went to sleep.
Well, I took a Xanax. I don't know if she took one out of the bottle, but I definitely did.
And the next morning, she left with your money, right?
So that's about 8:30 the next morning.
That's July 19th,
Hi,
2014.
Nicole.
Correct.
Let's talk about what you did that day. You did not report this to the police because you were in fear, correct?
Absolutely.
And you didn't report this to Wendy, even though, according to you, her life was in danger too, correct?
Potentially, but I planned on paying the extortion every month.
All right. But you did go to the gym that morning, right? Can you show that text, please? Were you able to go to the gym? the
I
next morning?
absolutely didn't leave the house. I worked out at No Southeastern Gym. You can check the gym records. I was never there.
Okay. Did you say you were going to the gym?
I said I was, yeah.
But you didn't actually go.
Yeah, I didn't leave the house.
All right. So would you agree, Doctor, and we'll refresh your memory with them if we can, that the text messages that were exchanged between yourself and Catherine McVanwell on the morning after this exchange of money were inconsistent with your extortion theory?
They were inconsistent with how I was feeling.
Don't appear to look like you just gave her $138,000 under duress, do they?
She told me, the last thing she said to me before she left the house is, can we just pretend like this never even happened? So when I sent her that message, I was trying to show her, like, I'm trying to forget all about it.
Yeah, you were just demonstrating to her that you would agree to pretend nothing happened, right?
Absolutely. That's what she asked me to do, and that's what I tried to do.
So the text messages aren't what they appear to be. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to the pool. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to the gym. None of that is what it appears to be. It's something else.
I absolutely did not go to the gym. I was trying to show her that I was, pretending like nothing ever happened and looking past it.
And there's
That
nothing
wasn't-
on the wire. Oh, those hours of you talking. There's nothing on the wire about the extortion, this layer 1 of extortion, because she told you not to talk about it, right?
She told me to never talk about anything to anyone or her. She never wanted to hear about it again.
Yesterday, in your testimony, between you and your attorney, you mentioned the word extortion 123 times. Did you take my word for that?
I'm sure it came up a lot.
Okay. But nowhere, even in the midst of this whole second extortion, it's happening again. It's an extension of the same thing. Do you mention anything about this layer 1 of the extortion? Do you?
Yes, actually, I did.
Okay.
If you pull up the video from Matsuri when I was sitting with my dad, and I said it, and the funny thing is, that's what I whispered in his ear.
Right, but we can't hear that.
Right, because that's my point. I never wanted anybody to hear what had happened. I never wanted the police to come talk to me. But if you put up that video, you'll actually see me saying that it's my dad's ear, and that's why I went and said it. And that's what we were talking about at the time. So
At
it's right.
Matsuri, the only time you mention the extortion, it's in a whisper that is not picked up by the microphones, right?
Intentionally, yes.
Yes. And that was intentional at the time, but it sucks for your defense, right? Because that would be a huge piece of evidence for you to show this jury, wouldn't it?
No, I think you'd come up with a reason why that I said it anyway.
And there's nobody to corroborate this testimony.
There is.
Okay. And the Matsuri, you talked about it again out in the parking lot, right? Wasn't that your testimony?
Yes, we spoke in the parking lot.
Okay. So you did talk about the extortion.
That's
You just didn't do it in a way that it was captured on any of the recordings in this case.
well, we spoke when we had privacy.
Well, you had privacy on the phone, right?
But when?
At least you thought you had privacy on the phone every time when you were talking on the phone for
No,
hundreds of hours on this
no.
wire.
There's always a chance that I was being listened to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there was a chance you were being listened to when you whispered in Dad's ear, right? But you said it. You
Well,
were
I
talking
mean,
about it.
I was
he
I
was
whispered real
whispering
quietly
it.
into his ear, so I thought I had privacy. At that point,
Right.
I thought I had privacy.
And Catherine
She's
McVanwell
really
and you discussed this first layer of extortion in the car outside of Dolce Vita too, right?
That's when I found out everything that was going on, and she opened up when I
But
confronted
if
her.
this jury could hear that conversation recorded, we would all be hearing basically what you're telling us, that there was an extortion effort that predated the undercover operation. Wouldn't
Right.
we?
Because I was trying to see if Sigfredo was behind the extortion of my mom, because I knew he was behind. Always had a feeling he was behind what happened to me, and she was having this explosive fight with him, and it was going on the same exact time that my mom started getting extorted. So I thought that he was going after my mom.
Don't you wish that that conversation in the car had been recorded?
I don't know.
Wouldn't it prove your theory?
Yeah.
What you're talking about, the
I
prior
think about it.
extortion.
Then you know exactly what happened back then.
But unfortunately, it wasn't recorded. And then everything that was recorded inside the restaurant, you don't mention it, right?
I'm speaking very carefully. I mean, and I still, even when I was in the car with Katie, she was doing most of the talking. That was the first time she really opened up, and I think I caught her off guard. I was still, even when I spoke to her in the car, I was real careful. I said, was T behind what happened to me? Like, I wouldn't even say the words to her when I was in the car.
Okay, was T behind what happened to me? Do you say anything anywhere on the wire about referencing what happened to me? Meaning what happened to me before?
No, because that was the only time I ever confronted her. But I did actually when I would be on the wire with my mom, and I would say, it's not the same person. Like, that was in reference to what happened to me, and she
What
knew
call
that.
do you say it's not the same person?
Okay, you want to know what call? It was
Yeah.
Tuesday, the 26th. And I said, it's at the end of the call. It was a 2-minute and something
Hit
call.
fresh with
April
her.
26th?
April 26th, 2016. It was a 2-minute and something call. It was towards the very end. And I go, I know it's not done like this. It's 48 hours. It's just enough time. It's not the same person. So you can look it up.
Okay, I'm with you. It's not the same person you were referencing as the person that blackmailed me years ago. And has been blackmailing me for years.
Yeah,
That's what you meant.
It's not the same person that's extorting me, correct?
All right. So I want to go back to Wendy. Wendy is in the process of relocating from Tallahassee to South Florida, basically the day that this is going on, day after the money drop, right?
They're packing up the car. They're coming back here.
So she's going to be moving significantly closer to the killers that had threatened her life.
This what I don't she wasn't planning. It wasn't a permanent move or anything that was planned. I think she took a suitcase with her.
But she's your family member, yes. She's much closer to the one they've already killed than you, right?
Say it again.
She's much closer. She's got much deeper connections to the person they've already killed. That's Dan Markel than you do.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason to fear for her safety because these killers have come, they've just killed Dan, and now they're saying they're gonna kill another one. It could be Wendy, right?
She has no idea what's going on.
Exactly. But you let her move from Tallahassee to Miami where you knew the killers were located. That's my point. Do you agree with that?
The killers were able to find Dan Markel in Tallahassee. They have a car.
They were, but would you rather live in Tallahassee or in Miami if the killers are in Miami?
I think if these people want to find you, they'll find you. I mean, I don't think. I mean, looking at Luis Rivera, I don't think a distance would stop him.
This
Okay.
man.
Where did Wendy and the boys live when she first moved to South Florida?
When she first moved to South Florida, she moved in with my parents into a small apartment. They actually had to get another apartment because that one was too small.
With your parents?
She moved in with them, yeah.
And I want to talk about the cameras. You bought cameras for the Adelson Institute in your home at Whale Harbor, right?
Yes.
The camera system, yeah. All right. And what about
We have
Wendy's?
Hapa.
I guess she didn't have a place. So like wherever she was staying with your parents, were cameras installed there as well at that same time frame that you installed these cameras?
No, I never told her what happened, but they lived in a very secure building.
Isn't it true, Doctor, that you've been planning to install those cameras for some time before the murder?
I actually already had cameras at my house that I had installed in 2008. The technology from 2008 to 2014 had changed a lot when it came to cameras.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think you mentioned all that on direct. I'm referring to this particular update that was done post homicide. You were in communication with this camera guy, and I think your lawyer mentioned this. You had 84 text messages with him dating back to January 20th of 2014 in regards to the update that occurred post murder. Do you agree with that?
I know. There was always talk that we were going to get cameras in the office, and we just never got around to it. When this happened, that week, within probably 3 days, I called the camera guy up and I said, I want to get cameras in my house and my new cameras from my house, and I want to get cameras in my office. How soon can you come out and do it? And then he came out, I'd say 4 or 5 days after that, bought the equipment and installed it that week.
Did you hire a private investigator to help you with this whole problem you were having?
With the extortion?
Yes.
No, I didn't tell anybody.
Did you get a bodyguard?
No, I carried a gun on me. I always sleep with a gun next to me in bed. And I carried a gun on my person and had a gun in my car at all times.
Do you recall a statement you made on the Dolce Vita recording that said you were going to start carrying a gun?
Yeah, because for a long time after this happened, I was carrying a gun, and it's uncomfortable, and I don't always like carrying a gun. So I hadn't carried a gun in a while, and I was going to start carrying one again.
But you did say in 2016, I'm going to start carrying one.
Yeah, I carried probably for about 4 to 6 months after this happened, and I wear scrubs, so the gun that I had can kind of stick out, and it's uncomfortable. I prefer not to carry a gun.
So you quit carrying it, but during the time you were still paying the extortion money.
Yes.
All right. And the extortion money that you were paying, $3,000 a month, that wasn't going towards the principal of whatever was left on the $333,000, right? Didn't you testify to that?
Correct.
All right. So you never came up with the remaining bulk of the money that you owed.
Never.
And nobody ever came after you for that?
No, they said you could pay it all off and it'll be done, or just pay $3,000 a month. So I thought about paying the full amount.
All right. Then a couple weeks later, after the initial extortion, you and Catherine Magdanova broke up, according to your direct. Did I have that right?
That's not correct.
When did you break up?
Within a week, I met her, we went out to dinner, and went out to eat, and I just said, this has got to end.
All right. So you broke up with her.
Yes.
Weren't you scared that if you broke up with her, that she would sick the Latin Kings on you?
No, because I had every intention of paying every month. When I broke up with her and I said, listen, I don't want to surround myself with this. I'm scared. She said that she was going to come every month and pick up the money and protect me. And she understood. I mean, our relationship was on the rocks.
But you testified that all the gifts and stuff that you gave her were to keep her happy, right?
Yeah, when I realized that she's the one who's protecting me and she wasn't a part of this extortion, I had no problem keeping her happy, and I looked for things to do, nice things to do for her because she was broke.
But not worried about pissing her off by breaking up with her.
Well, our relationship was definitely on the rocks. After July 1st, when Sigfredo cut me off and threatened me and called my dad, and then she knew I didn't even invite her to my dad's birthday party, which was a family gathering with family friends on July 5th. She knew we were going to be done.
After you broke up with Catherine Magbanua a week after the murder, did you continue to talk to her?
We still communicated for sure.
Talk on the phone?
And texted, yeah.
And meet up?
No, the only time I'd see her was I saw her again the end of August. She came, picked up the money, and that's when she asked me if I could put her on the books because none of this money was going to her and she needed to get health insurance for her kids. So I said, yeah, I'll do it and help you out.
And did you continue to hook up with her after the breakup? And by that, I mean, have sex with her.
There was one occasion. There was one time that we hooked up.
Okay, when was that?
I want to say it was probably about 5 months after we broke it up.
Okay, well, there was one other occasion before that in October of 2014. Do you recall that? October 9th of 2014?
That's probably the occasion I'm talking about. It's July. Let me count the months. July, August, September, October. So, okay, so 4 months.
Okay, and there's another one on October 15th. You remember that one?
No, I think we did hook up about one time.
Okay, well, one time on October 9th and one time on October 15th.
I thought it was one time. If it was 2 times, it's been.
Could it have been 2 times?
But no more.
Okay. And on August 25th, 14, that would have been after the breakup, right?
Yeah.
You text her, and then she replies, I don't need help. I'm good. Don't need favors, nor will I trust anyone again. Erase my number, please. Go on with your life like you did already and have been doing. Sorry we spoke today. I don't want to stress your life more. Don't do anything for me. Do you remember receiving that text from Catherine Magbanua?
Yeah, sounds familiar.
And that's a pretty weird text to get from the extortionist. You're meeting her to give her money. Why is she saying erase my number?
She's not the extortionist.
Okay.
In
9/11,
2014, I didn't think she was the extortionist.
right, but it's been revealed that she was.
In 2019, so you're taking what was known in 2019, and you're trying to say I knew what I knew in 19.
I'm not trying to say you knew. I'm trying
Oh
to
my
say
God,
she knew.
he
was
is the one
extortionist.
arguing.
Why is she telling you to erase her number and leave her alone?
Because I broke up with her.
Exactly. On 9/14 or 9/11 of 14, she sends you hashtag bestie for life. Do you remember that?
It sounds familiar.
So did you all have some kind of reconciliation after the breakup?
No, I was probably doing a favor and making her happy with something.
On
Probably
10/6 of 2014, I love you. It makes me feel good that you care about me. I'm lucky to have you as part of my life. Do you remember sending that to her?
Yeah.
On 10/9 of 14, I mentioned the sex talk. I won't go into the details of it. Again, 10/15, more sex talk. 10/23 of 14, thank you again for everything you're doing for my mommy. She sends you that. What were you doing for her mother?
I don't know. I think I did a consult for her, but I didn't do anything for her mom.
2/24 of 15, you agree that she always knows how to make you smile, and you say, I love you to her. Remember that?
Yeah, I cared a lot about Katie, and I didn't think that she was a part of it. So I was always trying to keep her happy and make her happy. And I felt like she got dragged into something that she shouldn't have been dragged into.
Okay, maybe, but she dragged you into it as well.
I didn't see it like that at all. And our relationship actually got stronger. Initially when I got extorted, I had limited contact with her and I was cold to her. And then over time, I realized that she's the one who's protecting me and she's not involved with these people because the extortion never went up and Katie was always broke.
She was involved with them because she had a child with the guy, right?
I didn't know for sure it was him, but
you suspected always that it was him.
I always suspected that Sigfredo was behind this.
So wouldn't you want to distance yourself from this woman who, were you ever really that serious about her to begin with?
We spent 7-8 months together.
But you were never considering marrying her.
No, I wasn't considering
you were a playboy, right? You had a zillion girlfriends.
that is actually not even true.
Okay. Did you have a lot of girlfriends?
I had 2 girlfriends in the 2 or 3 years after her. I dated Whitney Kick for 9 months.
Okay, but how many women were you talking to and engaging with? Sexually? A lot more than Whitney Kick, right?
There could have been 1 or 2.
Or more?
No.
Okay. Point being, you were not going to marry Catherine Magbanua.
I wasn't having marriage plans, no.
Okay. And you have now broken up with her after this incident.
Yes.
She's the person that's taking the money from you physically.
She's the one. I looked at it. She's the one who's protecting me. If she wasn't, I was going to get a visit.
Is she the one that was physically taking the money?
Yes.
Is she the one that was connected to the person you suspected to have killed your brother-in-law?
I thought she was tied to that person. Yes.
And she's the one that got you into this, right? Because she ran her mouth. Right?
I looked at that. I ran my mouth too. And if I never said anything to her, this would never have happened. So I felt responsible for saying something to her in the first place.
But you didn't feel responsible enough to try to do anything about her sitting in jail, an innocent woman, for 3 years, did you?
She never contacted me.
You didn't offer to testify in her trial. You let her get convicted and get life in prison, didn't you?
I thought the truth was going to come out.
But not through you.
I was never contacted. I thought it was going to come out through her.
Was there any contact between your lawyers and her lawyers?
You'd have to ask them.
You said you didn't have any contact with her.
I
Did you have any
zero
contact?
contact with her.
So your lawyers didn't tell you anything on behalf of her lawyers?
Absolutely not.
And her lawyers didn't hear anything from your lawyers?
I don't know what lawyers talk about, but I can tell you that I never talked to Katie, and I never told my lawyers.
You never relayed a message through your lawyers that the Adelson family would not be talking in this case?
And absolutely not.
And she had nothing to worry about as far as that end was concerned?
That's not true at all.
Did you or your agent contact her brother to offer to assist with her attorney's fees in her case?
That's a complete lie.
On 10/27 of 15, you say you can't wait to get lunch with her. She's the best, and you're lucky to have her as a friend for life. Did you say that?
Yes.
10/27/15, you can't wait to get lunch with her. 10/30/15, you tell her you miss her. 12/9 of 15, again, you tell her she's the best.
Yeah, I said all those things.
Do you agree that this picture does not look like a relationship between an extortionist and her victim?
I agree, because Katie wasn't the extortionist.
She was the extortionist.
In 2014 and
No.
2015, I didn't believe that.
I know you didn't believe it, but we're looking back now, okay?
You know, it's like if you're going to quote me, date me. Like what I knew in 2014 and what I knew in
Please,
2015
please.
is not what I know now in 2023.
Okay, yes, I hear you. You didn't know then, and that's why you were nice to her.
Yeah, I thought she was protecting me.
Got it. And none of those factors that I pointed out weighed into that consideration, that she ran her mouth, that she brought the Latin Kings on you, she was taking the money from you. None of that counterbalanced it. You were still going to be friends with her and keep her happy.
You're wrong. I didn't know about the Latin Kings in 2014 or 2015.
All right. The love text, which is what I'm referring to all these texts where you're still nice to this person after you break up with her, you're still doing favors for this person after you break up with her. And that's like a major problem for your defense, isn't it?
No, our relationship got stronger. I agree. Our relationship got stronger, but it was much different.
Isn't that why she has to be an innocent conduit between you and the bad guys? Because if those texts didn't exist, she would be the extortionist and the bad actor in this whole thing, right?
I'm not following your theory.
You have to explain away those texts, don't you, doctor?
No, I have to sit here and tell you the truth. Now you're finding it out.
Most people don't send kissy faces to people that are extorting money out of them. I mean, she was taking your money.
Again, Ms. Kaplan, she was not extorting me at the time.
That's not how it's done, is it?
Oh my god.
I'm telling you how it was done.
So then over these next 2 years, you would meet her monthly and hand over a bundle of checks and $3,000 in cash, right?
No, you're wrong.
Okay, tell me.
I would hand over
Not
$2,000 in cash and a bundle of checks.
$2,000 in cash and a bundle of checks. And so over the course of 2 years, I'm terrible at math, but that's roughly how much money? Because I think I did $3,000. It's $48,000 in cash in addition to the $138 you provided the night of. You agree with that?
Your math is correct. I'm just telling you what I paid her each month.
And the checks, which is another $17,000, right?
You're doing the math.
It was a lot of money. Was it a lot of money to you?
It was a lot of money to me, yeah. I work hard.
I wonder if he lost
Did
his
the extortionists, whoever they were, ever tried to
dental
increase the
license
payments or come
before
for more
this.
money?
The extortion never went up, and Katie was always broke. And that's what led me to think that she was not part of this, because she could have easily jacked up the payments.
Well, she's sharing $3,000 a month with a bunch of other people, right? At least one other person.
I didn't think she was sharing. Why is she coming to me for $300 for her kid's birthday?
Because she's broke.
Because she wasn't getting any of the
Because
money.
half of $3,000 doesn't do much when you're living in Miami with 2 kids to feed, right?
I didn't think
Not
she was
working.
sharing anything.
Well, even if she was sharing, if that's your point, she must not have been taking the money because she was broke. And my point is, she could have been taking half the money and been broke.
That's not
It's
how I
not a
saw
lot
it.
of money.
That's not how I saw it.
yeah.
Tell me about Dan Markel a little bit. What you sort of said, what I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, was he was, a nice enough guy, typical Wendy boyfriend, but not really your kind of guy.
Yeah, I think it's an accurate description.
Right? Do you agree that he was this brilliant legal mind?
And I think he was a little nerdy, nice guy. Just kind of like the average guy that my sister dated.
Not the kind of guy you want to have a beer with, though.
We never had a
Boring.
beer together. I mean, not that I wouldn't have had a beer if he wanted to have one. We just didn't have that much in common, but he was always nice to me.
Do you appreciate the fact that his death was a terrible loss to his sons?
It was horrible.
Do you think they were better off without him?
Absolutely not.
Did you host a celebration dinner after his murder?
That's a complete lie.
On The Wire, would you agree that the Markel boys were in the background pretty much of every call you had with your mom, and we hear them a lot, right?
My sister was working, so my parents would help my sister out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was summertime, so they were out of school, I would assume.
I don't know if it was every call, but they definitely helped my sister out for sure.
All right, and those calls captured Donna pushing them on the swings, that call that tortured all of us a couple times. Remember that one?
Yeah, there was a call where she was pushing them on the swing.
Taking them to tennis lessons.
That
Yes.
was the same day. I mean, that was the same call that got broken up, and she called me back. But yes,
Doing their bedtime routine,
helping my sister out for sure.
reading stories, brushing teeth, getting haircuts, going to piano, story time and bedtime, all of that kind of stuff.
All stuff that parents and grandparents do. You're right.
All right, she even said to you on one of the calls regarding the bedtime routine that, quote, we have a whole routine going. Do you remember that?
I have a whole routine with my son. I mean, I think it's normal with kids. You have a routine to put them to bed.
Right.
You
All
gotta
the
brush
kind
your
of
teeth.
things,
Can't forget to brush your teeth.
all the, yeah. Well, dental humor couldn't hurt, right?
What's that?
All the things that,
Okay,
that
maybe.
you know,
I hope
your mom wouldn't
things
have been
get
able to
better.
do as readily if the kids were living in Tallahassee. Agree with that?
I mean, when they come up to visit them, they'd be doing the same thing.
Sure, when they came up to visit, but now they're doing it every day, right? Almost every day.
Not every day, but when my sister needed them, she helped them
Keep
out.
me up.
And these are all things, these little routine things that Dan Markel will never be able to do with his sons. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Does your mom have a favorite child?
She says she doesn't have favorites, but I don't think she likes my older brother.
Okay. Is Wendy the favorite?
I'd like to think it's a tie between me and her.
Does your mom worry more about Wendy than you?
Mm,
Let's
I don't
do
really get.
before this case.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't.
Later.
I think maybe in different parts of my life, she's probably more concerned about me. Different parts of my sister's life, she may be more concerned about her.
Is it true that your mom has a tendency to worry herself sick if there's something going on with one of you kids?
No, I mean, she's a concerned mom, but I think she's a normal mom.
Was she
A
pretty
normal
worried
soccer
about Wendy's
mom.
marital problems?
No,
She wasn't.
I think she'd get upset when my sister would tell her things that Danny was doing and going to work, bad mouthing her. But
Why
I think
you
any
don't
parent would
tell
get
your
upset.
parents that?
But also she would meticulously go through all the filings and send long emails detailing her thoughts about every filing in this divorce.
No, I don't think that's the case at all.
Okay. Did she hate Dan Markel?
I think she liked him in the beginning for sure, and I think when he was being a jerk to my sister, I don't think anyone particularly liked him when he was being a jerk.
What about the time around the time that he was killed? Did your mother hate Dan Markel?
No, I think it kind of like tapered off. I think she only disliked him when he was being mean to my sister. Other than that, nobody had a problem
He
with
was being mean to your sister during these divorce proceedings and subsequent litigation, right?
I think it was on and off. I think it was sporadic.
And when your mom's worried about Wendy, does she come to you for solutions or to talk things out?
No, I don't think worried is the right word to describe it.
Does she ever make Wendy's problems your problems?
No.
Like convincing you to get Wendy to pull the plug on the house on Halloween 2013? Didn't she convince you to sort of take up that cause?
No, that was actually me. I thought I shared my thoughts on homeownership for my sister. That was all me.
Didn't you say that if she had bought that house, that would have been the second worst decision of Wendy's life?
I thought it was going to be a stupid decision to buy that house.
And what was the first worst decision of Wendy's life?
I thought looking at hindsight 2020, I think she'd agree when she married Dan.
And did you convince her to take a particular job as well? Remember that call?
Hi guys.
Yeah,
Welcome. Please
she
hit
got
the
an
like
offer from the law firm. She was
button.
debating whether or not she should take it. She didn't know if it was exactly what she wanted to do. And I was like, hey, you don't know what you don't like doing until you've done it. Seems like a great opportunity. Like, why not do it? Learn the job skill. It's a skill you don't. She's like, well, I don't have that skill. I'm like, well, it's a good opportunity to learn it, and you may like it. And if you don't like it, then try something else. But I was trying to encourage her to take what sounded like a great opportunity.
And Mom shared your thoughts, and I'm referring to Donna Adelson, but shared your thoughts about this opportunity being a good one for Wendy, right?
I probably heard about the job from my mom, but I definitely heard about it from my sister because I'm talking to my sister about it.
Yeah, I mean, the job was not what she had any experience in, right? It's a whole other field of law.
Then that was my point. It was like, well, why not take it if they're offering it to you and you can learn something new? It sounds like a great opportunity.
Do you and Donna know what's best for Wendy better than she knows herself?
No, but not at all.
Were you a spy when it came to Wendy? Did you get information from from Wendy and relay it to Donna?
At times, because I was dating Bree, and Bree worked for Dave, so I would hear stuff about Dave from Bree. So I kind of had an inside. I got inside information.
In what capacity did Bree work for Dave?
Dave was his. After she graduated from college, she was working as a nanny for Dave.
Right. And how old was Bree during the time you were dating her? Was she significantly younger than you?
She was 24, and I was 39.
Is Bree the mother of your child?
She is the mother of my child. Yeah.
Oh,
All right. So back to Wendy and Donna. So Wendy, was she tight-lipped with Donna about her private life?
I don't think she shared everything.
But she would tell things to you that you wouldn't tell to Donna.
I can't say that for sure.
Can you play clip 1, please? Publishing called EEE. EEE. Yeah, would you?
I'm just waiting to just have all the dare fest. Anyway, so I just got to Dave now.
How did you?
Probably an old fart. She's a few months older than me.
Uh-huh.
But so I asked Wendy for his birthday. Turns out Wendy's making her a little party in Cleveland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Wendy goes like very tight-lipped.
You're not kidding.
So what she do is, she's obviously tight-lipped for a reason. She doesn't want you to know anything.
Anything.
So My point is, if she doesn't want you to know anything, then don't ask anything. I'm just happy. And then I just find everything out to tell you.
I know, it's great.
So I was like, so what are you doing for your birthday? He's like, well, Wendy's making me like a little birthday dinner, a little get-together party. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. He's like, yeah, he's like, I don't know anything. All I know is Wendy's putting it together for me, and she's doing it quickly.
Aw.
So I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome.
All I knew is that she was going straight from work to the hotel where everybody was meeting for this Miami Sellers thing that she does. And that she was going to be here tonight because it starts early first thing tomorrow morning.
Right.
I guess in between, she managed to do something else. Which makes me happy. I'm really glad.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't imagine. Oh,
All right. Well,
yeah,
see
that
ya.
was good. Yeah.
Do you remember yesterday, since you were telling a story about Katie coming in from having had some kind of altercation with Garcia, and she had reported that the necklace had been just pulled off her neck? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Right. And when you were relaying that story to the jury, you used a specific term describing what Garcia had done to her. Do you remember what that term was?
It was only yesterday, but you'll have to refresh my memory how I described it.
You said he roughed her up.
That's accurate.
And that put my antenna up, because that roughed them up is the exact same phrase that Catherine Magbanua said in her proffer that you used on Halloween 2013 when you first approached her about, does she know anyone who can rough someone up?
No, I think getting roughed up is an adjective, but what you're doing is the same thing you did with your TV theory. Is like you heard TV mentioned multiple times, so you put the whole case together with the TV,
Okay,
and
we'll
you're
get
putting
to
the
the
whole case
TV.
together with the word roughed up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not putting the
so,
whole case together,
One moment. Don't speak over each other.
but that's
Please
an
wait for him to answer, then you can ask your next question. Go ahead.
but that's an unusual. I mean, it's a specific term. I'm not making a whole case out of it. But did you say roughed up in both places?
Katie was roughed up by Sigfredo when he tore the necklace off of her neck. Yes.
And isn't that the same term you used when you first approached Catherine Magbanua about did she know someone who could rough up someone else?
Never in my life have I ever asked her that question. Never in my life. That conversation never took place.
Did you ever hear Donna Adelson refer to Dan Markel as stupid?
No.
Were you laughing when Wendy was on the stand and I read all the names that Donna referred to Dan Markel as?
No, I laughed when you said the word fucker in court.
Okay. What did she mean when she said Dan Markel was trying to take her sunshines away? Do you know?
My mom never said that.
No, so you never heard her say
That was made up, and he put it in a court filing, and then now it becomes something that my mom said because someone made it up and put it in a court filing. My mom never said that.
Did your mom refer to the children as her sunshines?
No, the kids were 3 and 4. The 3 and 4-year-old can't repeat a conversation and remember words 6 hours later and repeat it accurately. I have a 5-year-old son. Never seen a 3 and 4-year-old do that. So it was made up, and now you're repeating it.
Okay.
Are you serious?
Have you been a good brother to Wendy?
I always try to be a good brother.
It sounds like maybe you're not agreeing that this was a really nasty divorce, or are you agreeing it was a nasty divorce?
I mean, I don't think any divorces can be pleasant, but I think they definitely had their fights. I mean, they were fighting over bicycles and all kinds of crap.
But in addition to that, Dan Markel accused your sister of fraud, right?
He made an accusation, yeah.
Threatened her with federal kidnapping charges.
Oh, that's a new one. You just told me.
That one's in the emails that are in evidence. Did you review those?
I didn't review the federal kidnapping charges in this case.
Was seeking contempt proceedings. You heard about that here in court, yes?
I heard about that, yeah.
Even went after her lawyer personally, right?
He made serious threats against her lawyer.
And her bar card could have been in jeopardy if any of those, or some of them.
I heard the other day she was saying that I guess her lawyer, he was threatening her lawyer's bar card.
Her lawyer's bar card as well as Wendy's.
He was making lots of threats and writing lots of stuff, I guess.
And he messed with your mom too, didn't he? In that grandma motion, you know which one I'm talking about?
I don't think he was messing with my mom. I mean, nobody took that seriously. I don't think anyone even knew about it.
Isn't your
later.
mom, I'm sorry, finish.
I said I don't think anyone even knew about it till years later.
Isn't your mom notorious for always getting worked up about everything?
She gets upset. I mean, she's a concerned mom. I mean,
But is she notorious for getting really worked up about everything?
to a certain extent. I mean,
Aren't those your own words from Call S that's in evidence in this case?
yeah, those are my words, but you can't, honestly, not to an extreme, but she does worry, especially when like Latin King gang members are extorting her for money.
Did your mom take the grandma motion seriously?
I don't think she even knew about it.
She didn't talk to you about it?
No, I didn't find out about it till years later.
Wasn't this divorce a big deal in your family?
It didn't affect my life. I can tell you that. So I don't think that's true. I think it was a big deal in my sister's life.
Why did Wendy testify that she was getting along well with Dan Markel just prior to his death? Can we agree that's not true?
I think there were ups and downs and how they got along. I mean, you got to ask her. She was on the stand. I mean, I wasn't living her life.
Is it part of your defense to minimize how nasty and contentious this divorce was?
My defense is to tell the truth.
Did you have any input on the decision to change the boys' names from Markel to Adelson?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Do you and Donna have to protect Wendy?
No.
Does Wendy appreciate everything you and Donna do for her?
You got to ask her. I mean, she's my sister. I love her. I try to give her my best advice I can. If I I care about her, and I give her my advice. Whether she takes it or not is up to her. She's a grown woman.
Let me ask it another way. Do you feel, or isn't it true that you don't feel that Wendy appreciates everything you and Donna do for her?
My sister had no idea what I've been through in the last God knows how many years, and I wake up worrying, am I going to get killed? Am I going to get arrested? And she knows none of it. She's just going around her life, and I had somewhat of an innate anger towards her. Probably unjust because she didn't know what happened. But yeah, I was upset.
And weren't you saying on the wire that she doesn't appreciate what you and Donna have done for her?
I don't know if I said that she doesn't appreciate what I've done for her because I never did anything for her.
Okay, so that was my next question. What have you done for her? Nothing?
Other than give her advice and care about her. Be a big brother that loves her.
Would you say Wendy's a little bit spoiled?
In some regards, I mean, she gets a lot of help for sure.
Is she a little less savvy about how the world works than you are?
I don't know. You got to ask her.
Could you trust Wendy with a secret that could ruin your life?
It's not a secret. It's something that would get me killed. So I didn't want to tell her.
Can we agree that she obviously knew something about this crime?
She found out when she came to court. I never told her anything.
I'm talking about the murder, Dan Markel. She knew something, right? I mean, it's not a coincidence she went to the crime scene, is it?
You're talking about the route that she took that day?
I'm talking about her pulling up to the crime scene tape.
She never went to the crime scene. She was going to buy a bottle of liquor that coincidentally the person sent her a stop the bar party for buy a bottle of bullet bourbon that she was going to pick up. She wasn't driving to a crime scene. And I think she made that clear too. Nobody knew a murder was taking place.
She pulled up to the crime scene tape, Dr. Adelson.
She didn't pull up to the crime scene tape. She was driving down the street and then had to make a U-turn. It was blocked off. But she wasn't going to.
She couldn't help herself.
Nobody knew a murder was going to take place.
She exposed you all to some degree by those actions, didn't she?
No, not at all.
And then she threw you under the bus in her interview, didn't she?
But nobody knew a murder was going to take place.
She knew her husband had just been shot and they were asking her who would want him dead. And she said your name. Are you mad about that?
No, she said a lot of people's names.
Well, she said yours in the first 25 pages of a 5-hour interview. Isn't that true?
I wasn't there for the interview.
But you've reviewed it in preparation for your trial, haven't you?
I actually don't know if I've seen her interview.
Michigan.
There was a lot of questions of you about, didn't you do this murder with Wendy? Doesn't the state think you did this murder with Wendy? Are you familiar with your charges in this case?
Yes,
I've never been.
Right. And who are you alleged to have done this murder with?
I'm alleged to have done this murder with my sister, my mom, and my dad.
Would it refresh your recollection to review a copy of the indictment in this case?
I don't think Harvey
Also,
had
if I could
any
May I
part
question?
in this, to be entirely honest. I genuinely
This is
believe
the
that
official
too.
charging document in your case, Dr. Adelson. What does it say in reference
Everyone
to
else, yes.
who you are alleged to have committed the murder with?
This is, what day is this? 2022. They think I did a murder with Katie.
Catherine Magbanua.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Give me a minute, I'll read. They got Luis Rivera in here. They got Sigfredo Garcia.
As being alleged to have committed the murder with you?
Did I read it too quick?
Every time. Should just be at the very top of each charge. On or about July 18th, 2014, did unlawfully.
Okay. Yeah, Katie. Got
Okay.
that.
Are you mad that Wendy hasn't been charged and you have?
No, I'm mad that I got charged for a crime that I didn't commit.
Do you have any innate anger with Wendy over that fact?
No, not at all.
Are you pissed that she told all that stuff to Jeff Lacoste?
I don't think she said that to Jeff, but I wasn't there.
How did Lacoste know about the celebration dinner?
That we went out to dinner. She got sick, so she may have told someone that she threw up.
And then what? He just added the part about you referring to it as a celebration?
I never referred to it as a celebration dinner. I picked my sister up. I said, "Where do you want to go to eat?" She said she wanted pizza or sushi. I said, "I know a great sushi place." We went there. We didn't have reservations. We ended up sitting at the bar for an hour waiting for our table. And she had 2 drinks and got sick.
She vomited on the dinner table or at the dinner table.
Yeah, she got her to the bathroom. But yeah, she doesn't drink alcohol. So those 2 drinks, I think on an empty stomach, I think she got really sick. But there was no celebration dinner. It was the first time that she actually really left the house. So she got back from Tallahassee. She was devastated.
Did you say something to her about the murder of Dan Markel right before she vomited?
Absolutely not.
Do you remember what you said right before she vomited?
She was I think she said, "I don't feel well." And I said, "Oh no." And then she threw up.
Before that,
No, I think I said, "Oh no." And then she threw up.
before she announced that she was going to be ill.
Right.
Do you remember what the conversation was?
Just how's the food? How's your dinner? I mean, we were probably about halfway through dinner. If you look at the timetable, we weren't there long.
Why did you brag to Jeffrey Lacoste about your connection to the Cuban criminal element?
Never said that to Jeff Lacoste.
So he's making that up?
If he said it, I never said it.
Well, you were in here when he said it, weren't you?
I heard him say it, yeah. But I never said that to him.
on one of these calls, and it's in the context of talking about Dave and Wendy's relationship with Dave, you tell your mom that you've already gone above and beyond for Wendy. Was that a reference to having her ex murdered?
No, it's me getting tired of this Dave stuff. I mean, Dave's a great guy. I mean, everyone who meets him likes him. He's not only super successful, but he's very low key, like t-shirts and jeans kind of guy. And he loved my sister's kids. I mean, if you listen to The Wire, the point I was making is not how successful he is. The point I was making is that my nephew farted on him, and he thought it was funny and didn't bother him. And he also has 3 young kids, the same ages as my sister's
So
2 young
weird.
kids. They actually met in line when my sister was registering the kids for school.
They just
And it was
keep
they've been friends for years. So I thought it was a great opportunity for my sister to have a great guy in her life. And I was getting sick and tired of Dave calls. And The Wire started in April. My sister's birthday's in April. Dave's birthday's in April. So you got a ton of Dave chatter on this case. But believe me, I'd go crazy if I was talking about Dave like this all year long.
So that's a no. You did not reference having her ex murdered
Absolutely not.
when you said you've already gone above and beyond.
No,
for
that was
Wendy.
me getting sick of dealing with the Dave stuff. As great as the guy as he is, I was still getting sick of it.
When the $1 million offer was conceived, do you recall whose idea that was?
My parents.
Why was the relocation worth $1 million?
Well, it was actually I was going to pay a third, so I looked at it as that way. Why was it worth it?
That's the question.
Because it was going to help my sister out, and it was going to give her a good opportunity for a good job down here, and she was going to be around family, and family's important, so that's why.
Isn't it true that financially you came out ahead on this deal as opposed to if you had coughed up the third of the $1 million offer?
How in the world did I come up ahead? This is the craziest thing.
Financially, you paid $138,000, then you paid $2,000 a month plus the $1,000 payroll amount. You're still over $100,000 ahead financially than if you had coughed up the $333K.
No, I would have been better off paying. And first of all, I never paid for murders. This is a crazy question, but paying $3,000 a month for life is not anything anybody wants to do.
I didn't say anything about paying for a murder. I said you paid $138,000, which you did,
I got extorted for $330,000.
and then you paid. But you didn't pay the $330,000.
Right, because I didn't have it. I had to clear out my safe, and that was what was in my safe that night.
All right. Can we agree that Wendy was stressed out about the issues surrounding her divorce?
I think the divorce caused stress in her life. Yes.
And you were hearing about it from your mother, weren't you?
Yeah, I would hear.
Wendy's totally stressed out. Yesterday was a rough one, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like I said it before. So my sister would tell my mom a story. I'd be sitting in the car driving. My mom would be talking to me and telling me the latest story of the day, and that's how I found out a lot.
And then on 2/19/14, Donna texts you again to tread lightly with Wendy and refers to Dan Markel as an asshole and a fucker, right?
Sorry, you made me laugh. Sorry.
That's what I'm here for. Is that what happened? That text?
Did my mom use a foul word to describe him?
Yes, sir.
Probably
Asshole and
not.
fucker, to be specific.
in his best interest.
She used a curse word, correct.
Is that pretty strong language for your mom, or is that how she speaks?
I mean, it is pretty strong language, but I think I've been called a lot worse. But I mean, my mom used the curse word. She used the curse word. You just use curse words too. So
Was Wendy less stressed? Was Wendy less stressed out once all this litigation was over?
no, she was a million times more stressed out.
Was she better off financially?
There may have been some, but not much. I don't think so.
Was she able to stop paying her $800 an hour divorce lawyers?
Yes.
Did she get $2.7 million in benefits for her children plus $4,800 a month for the boys' benefit?
No, as far as I know, that money was in trust and it's controlled by Dan Markel's sister. So none of that money, you keep saying it like the money went to her. The money's in trust for the
Yeah.
kids, and that money never went to her.
Some of it went to her and some of it was in trust for the kids, right?
I don't know the breakdown, but I know the 90-something% of what you're talking about is in trust, and it's in trust for the children. It's not for her benefit.
Right. It's for the benefit of the boys, but it has to come through her because they're children, right?
Well, it
When
has-
she gets disbursements, right?
It has to go through the executor of the trust.
And
And my
then-
sister's not the executor of the trust.
No, sir. I'm not saying she is. When the executor of the trust disperses money for the benefit of the boys, it gets dispersed to Wendy, right?
See, you know more than I know.
Whatever.
Did you have trouble sleeping after the murder?
After I was extorted, for sure.
Did Katie text you on 12/19/15? Sorry, we have problems sleeping and shit. We do have a lot of weight on our shoulders.
Did she text me that?
Did she text you that?
I mean, she may have, but it sounds about right.
Do you want to look at the text?
I can look at it. Sure.
So dumb that he's asking to look at this. He knows what he did.
You can look around for context if you want, but I'm looking at page 2 of this exhibit and it's got a little box around it.
Thanks.
And if that refreshes your recollection, the question is, did she send it?
Yeah.
I want to go over a little bit some of the payments or gifts that you gave to Catherine McDaniel. We've heard a lot about her being put on the payroll at the Adelson Institute, and she made this demand to you when you met her to give her the first extortion payment on the payment plan. Is that correct?
She didn't make a demand. When I gave her the $3,000 for her friend, she asked me if I could do her a favor and put her on payroll for $1,000 a month so that she could get insurance for her kids. She was going to cash the check, and the money was still going to her friend, so that money wasn't going to her. She was getting insurance.
And did you believe her that she would give the money from the paychecks to the friend?
I believe what she was saying to me, yeah.
Isn't it true that Catherine McDaniel actually asked you to place her on the payroll back in June prior to this extortion effort?
I don't know if I put her on payroll. She asked me if I could put her something when I was dating her, put her something on the office so she could get insurance. But I never did.
And that was in June.
Yeah, I remember she'd asked me about it before, but I never did anything.
In June 24th of 2014, she says, "Baby, I'm going to need help on the employment info. I have to send to DCF for my kids' insurance. Also, if I have to end up moving later on, I need to show I'm working for you, or else I won't be able to get an apartment." To which you respond, "No problem." Remember that?
Yeah, but I wasn't thinking she was asking about payroll. I think she was asking just to say that she worked there. So we signed a letter saying that she was employed. But that doesn't say anything about writing checks to her.
And that request was made in between the two trips that the killers made.
Well, she asked me if I could do that for her while I was dating her, and I never even did it.
And did she ask if you could do that in between the two trips that the killers made?
I didn't know when they went up, but I found out later that they went up in June.
All right, so that email would have been sent, the text. That text would have been sent prior to what you're calling is the first layer of the extortion.
That text was sent to me while I was dating her. But I never.
Prior to the first layer of extortion?
The text was sent in June.
Prior to first layer of extortion?
Before I was extorted, yeah. Before I broke up with her.
And you say several times on the wire that she was cleaning at the office. Was she really cleaning?
No, she never worked for us.
She was doing some type of cleanup for you, wasn't she?
No.
What's the purpose of keeping Katie happy? Was she going to sick the Latin Kings on you if you made her unhappy?
She was protecting me. I didn't know what would happen. And she was keeping my mind, like when the extortion never went up, and I just assumed, I thought that she wasn't part of it and she was protecting me. Usually extortion goes up. It always gets ratcheted up from what I've heard.
What's the fear of not keeping her happy is what I'm trying to understand.
Well, I could get killed, or the people who were extorting me could come rob me. And I didn't get killed. I didn't get robbed. The extortion never went up. I thought she was really protecting me.
If that's the case, why not just, you're complying with everything they've asked you to do, right?
I'm doing everything that was asked to do. And yeah.
So why reach out and say, hey, can I get you a trip to Key West to go with that extortion money?
I never said, can I get you a trip to Key West?
You didn't say you were trying to get them the owner's cottage. Maybe it's not in Key West. Trying to get them the owner's cottage because it's the nicest, $380 a night, the postcard inn. Do you recall all those conversations?
Oh yeah, for sure. And she'd actually asked me weeks before the bomb, because I had this connection in a place called the Moorings that I could get like a really great price, a really affordable price for how nice the place is. And I said I was going to make some calls and help her out and get it. And then I ended up giving her $300 for the, when she picked up that bag at my house, I put $300 in it and I got her a hotel room.
Is that a yes? You remember that conversation?
Yeah, I do.
And she didn't want the trip. In the text messages, she's saying like, no thanks. And you're kind of forcing it down her throat. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, because actually it's funny, at that time in the wire, I was trying to see if Katie and him were together or they weren't together. So that's why I kept asking, how are things? Are you guys okay? Because if they were fighting, it was making me think more and more that the reason she was avoiding me was because she found out that he was the one who was doing the second extortion again. So I was trying to figure out if it was him and if she was lying to me.
And in this case, she says, I don't want to do anything. And you say, you know what? F that. You're going there. You're going to have a good time.
For sure. I was trying to do nice things for her.
And then did you pay for a trip or offer to pay for a trip to Santo Domingo for Catherine McDaniel and Sigfredo Garcia to visit his parents?
I didn't know who she was going with, but I paid for it. You're talking about airline tickets?
Yes.
She called me up. She had an emergency. Something happened. She booked tickets for the wrong date. I had no idea who in the family she was going with. And she had no money. And I remember I was in Chicago. I was at a friend's wedding and I took out my credit card and I gave her the credit card number and let her book tickets. I thought she was going with her kids.
So is that a yes? You paid for
Oh, yeah, no,
the
I remember that well.
So
For
go
sure.
quicker if we could just
I'm sorry.
answer the question.
What's the objection?
Argumentative.
Yeah.
Overruled.
Did you offer to buy Catherine McDaniel and her mom a cruise?
Yes, Katie had mentioned to me that she always wanted to be able to take her mom on a cruise. So I offered, but she never took me up on it.
Did you call in prescriptions for Catherine McDaniel?
She was a patient of record in my office.
Did you pay for a meal service for Catherine McDaniel?
Yeah, I did.
Be right back.
Did you pay for car repairs for her?
Yeah, all this stuff was making me think she was broke. So yes, you're right.
Did you offer that she could use your Range Rover anytime?
I said she could borrow the car, sure.
Did she talk
I
about
swear to
getting a boat
God,
and
you
offered
just
to
made
help her
me
get boats?
I
remember.
never offered to help
I
her
need
get
to
a boat. I
call
offered
my
to help her look for a
medicine.
boat.
Did you pay for the breast augmentation?
No.
No part of the breast augmentation?
Not at all.
So when she's saying at the same time she's the day of the breast augmentation, can I just put it on the credit card? Is she referring? Can I just put it on your credit card? Is she referring to something else, some other expense?
I have no idea what she's referring to, but I did not pay for her blue job.
What about this birthday gift for Sigfredo Garcia? What was the bonsai tree and the bag? What was that all about?
Oh, she had asked me, and it's on a wire. It's on 420, where she says, "Can you get me some bud from Bud, my next door neighbor's Bud?" And she asked me if I could get some marijuana from my next door neighbor for her. So that's what when I said I have a bonsai tree for you, because she asked me, and I got her a little bit of marijuana from my next door neighbor for her.
And you said, I don't know what a married man with kids would want for his birthday, but you did your best. I did my best.
I was being completely sarcastic. I never would get Sigfredo Garcia a present in my life.
And you thought you hit it out of the park with the weed and the gift card. Did you say that?
Well, give me a little more context.
The context is you don't know what a married man with kids would want for his birthday, but you did your best and you think you hit it out of the park.
No, I was being completely sarcastic because she'd asked me for that marijuana 2 weeks earlier, and I gave it to her. And then I was joking around when I gave it to her. I didn't want him to think that I was hooking up with her. So I started to joke around about it. And then I was like, maybe you can just tell him it was for me, because I didn't want him to think that I'm hooking up with Katie, and that's why I gave it to her.
Can we agree in general that it's important to maintain positive feelings between co-conspirators? If you're a co-conspirator with someone in a crime, you want to keep positive relationship with that person. Will you agree with that?
I'm not a co-conspirator with her.
Okay, I'm saying in general. Can you agree in general that co-conspirators in a crime want to stay friendly with each other?
I'm not a co-conspirator with her.
All right, can't agree with that. If a co-conspirator develops a motive to harm another one, that could be bad, right?
Co-conspirator. Say it again.
Say, a husband and wife do a murder together. And then 10 years later, they've gotten away with it, but 10 years later, they fall out. That could be a problem. Somebody might start talking, right?
I was never part of a murder.
Were these gifts, these things that you provided to Catherine Magbanua and her mother and Sigfredo Garcia payment for the murder?
Okay, I never got Sigfredo a gift in my life. The guy absolutely hates me. He wants to kill me. He stalked me. He extorted me. Like, that was being completely sarcastic. And sometimes I make some bad jokes, but that's even when I wrote he wanted to take me deep sea fishing. I knew he wanted to kill me. Like, you have that text too. I didn't think we were going deep sea fishing.
On April 6th of 2015, did you receive a text from Catherine Magbanua that reads, "Next time, don't be such a dick to someone who has done something for you"?
Yeah, she's protecting me, and she's mad. She's mad at me over something.
Are these gifts what it took to secure her silence for so long?
No, absolutely not. I was never trying to get her silence. I was hoping she'd tell the truth.
Was your dad's birthday in between the two trips that the killers took?
Yeah, my dad's birthday is July 5th.
And what birthday was that for him?
It was his 70th birthday party.
All right, so there's been a lot of talk about the texting between you and your mom about the birthday. And she texts you on March 4th of 2014 and says she can't talk now, but she'll call when she goes to the bathroom in Gainesville and has privacy. She tells you to erase that text after you read it. Why did she have you erase that text?
Okay, if you look at the records, I never erased the text.
But why did she ask you? If you know, you may not know.
Maybe she's afraid my dad's looking at her phone and would find out about the president. It made no sense to me. That's why I was like, I didn't erase anything.
How is you erasing the text going to prevent your dad from seeing it on your mom's phone?
Well, if my dad looked at my mom's phone, then he'd see the text and maybe know she's playing it for his birthday.
You weren't with dad. She was with dad. Just to clarify.
Yeah, she was with my dad.
And the text that she asked you to erase, that particular text didn't say anything about a birthday or paella. Can we agree on that?
No, but I knew what it was about.
Right. 20 minutes later, she texts again and asks something about dad's birthday. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I know we were trying to plan a surprise cruise. That was the original idea.
Okay. And the paella is mentioned elsewhere, not in this particular thread that we're talking about now.
Yeah,
Was paella the big birthday gift?
Yeah, I paid for the catering for the whole party.
Then 3 months later, on June 8th, just after midnight, you text her, quote, "still working on dad's birthday present." Was that in reference to the paella guy?
Possibly what I was also getting was a present. I mean, it's been 10 years, so I don't know exactly what I got him 10 years ago on his birthday.
And then at
what I was
1
thinking about.
a.m., I'm sorry, you weren't done.
No, or what I was thinking about getting him.
And then at 1 a.m., mom texts you back, "I know you'll," and I think she was in Israel, so that may account for the time, but she texts you, quote, "I know you'll come through for me." Is that what she said?
That's what the text said, yeah.
Can we agree the timing of these texts is consistent with being sent the day after the killers got home from their failed June murder trip?
No, it's consistent with a few weeks before my dad's birthday and trying to figure out what we're going to get him.
Why didn't you go to Dan's funeral?
In Canada?
I think there was some in Tallahassee and Canada as
I
well.
know there was
But did you go to either?
There was a memorial service here.
Did you go to that?
No, I didn't attend. I knew what had happened to him. There's no way I could have shown up. I would have been too upset.
Mr. Dubin, your lawyer that was here, seems like a long time ago at jury selection, said, people have different ways of grieving and that sort of thing. Were you grieving for the death of Dan Markel?
I felt horrible about what happened, and I knew what happened.
When
And
did you?
I wasn't close to him. But either way, I mean, I felt horrible about what happened.
When did you find out exactly how he was killed? Meaning like shot twice in the head?
I found out It would have been the next morning is how I found out he got shot in the head.
Do you agree that this was a first-degree murder?
Do I agree?
Planned, premeditated?
The people who killed him planned on killing him, yeah.
Do you think everyone involved should be convicted?
I think everyone involved should be convicted.
Even the person that hired the hit?
I think anybody who played a role in it, but I wasn't a part of it.
Do you regret that Dan Markel suffered for 14 hours before he died?
I feel horrible.
He was supposed to die quickly, instantly, right?
Are you asking me?
I am.
No, he wasn't supposed to die at all. This was horrible what happened.
Did it surprise you that the cops were able to identify the Prius?
Did it surprise me?
Yes.
I'm not a cop. I don't know how cops investigate.
Did it surprise you to learn that it's not a requirement of law to put the person at the scene of the crime to be guilty of the crime?
Listen, I'm not a police detective.
Was the police work in this case thorough?
I'm sure the police did the best they could.
Did you think that you had done everything properly such that you could never be detected or caught for this?
I wasn't part of this murder at all. You have it wrong.
Catherine McBanoa said that you think you're untouchable. Is that true, doctor?
That's not true at all.
Did your parents drop off money to you on the night of the murder?
I never saw my parents there. You could look at our cell phones and you'll find that out that we never saw each other.
I did look at the cell phones, and what is on there is your mom texts you, quote, outside your house.
No, I mean, look at the tower information.
I think you testified that that meant she was just passing by on the roadway.
She was approaching the area, yeah, to see if I was home.
And do you know what your response was to her text?
Yeah, like 20 or 30 minutes later, I said 10 minutes.
I'm 10 minutes out, is what you
I
said.
think I said 10 minutes, but yeah, I'm not home.
Doesn't that indicate you're going to meet them at your house in 10 minutes?
No, I told her to let me know when you're going to be in the area.
Was the money that Catherine McBanoa got damp?
I never gave her any money that was damp. The money I gave her came out of my safe.
Was it damp?
No, I took it out of my safe. I put it on the dresser. She put it in her purse.
Why did Garcia and Rivera, or whoever did it, I guess I should say, why did whoever did it need to kill someone to extort you?
You gotta ask them.
Well, why couldn't they just come put a gun to your head and say, give me all the money in your safe?
Thank God they did.
Thank God they didn't.
Thank God they did. I would have gotten killed.
If Garcia hated you, why would he drive to Tallahassee twice to kill someone you hated?
It sounds like he was part of the extortion, or Katie put him up to it.
Doesn't blackmail or extortion usually involve the extortionist having some kind of dirt on the victim?
I know how this was done to me. I know I'm just telling you what happened to me. I'm not an expert in it.
If they had come in and threatened to kill you, would you have given them the money in your safe?
If someone came and put a gun to my head, yeah, I would have opened up my safe and I would give them the money.
I still don't get how killing Dan Markel advances the ball for them to extort money out of you. Do you?
Yeah, I have a theory. They could extort me for life, and I don't think they knew exactly how much I had in the safe. I mean, she knew I had a lot of money in the safe, but this way I could get extorted for life, and that's what happened. I was stuck paying $3,000 a month.
But you could have gotten extorted for life just by the threat of death by Latin King, couldn't you, doctor?
I mean, this was as real a threat as you get. These guys aren't messing around.
All right, you didn't report this after Garcia was arrested, did you? Did not report this after Garcia's arrest?
No, not at all.
Okay, you did keep paying Catherine McBanoa after Garcia's arrest?
No, I never saw her again.
Did not report this after McBanoa's arrest, correct?
Correct.
Did not testify in either of their trials, correct?
Was never contacted to, but yes.
You were okay with the possibility of them getting away with killing Dan Markel.
I thought the truth was going to come out in 2019.
How? If the witness who knows something doesn't come forward?
Katie knows what happens and knows I was extorted, and her trial was in 19, and I was expecting the truth to come out then. Instead, I found out that she was having this affair with him on me, and she lied, and all this money was going to her.
So if her defense had been, I was an innocent conduit to an extortion, you would have backed her up on that?
If she would have come in and told the truth, and you heard the same story.
Where is your family located now? You don't have to be specific, but is your mom and dad, are they still in South Florida?
They still live in South Florida.
Okay, what about Wendy and the boys?
My parents live about 35 minutes from my sister, and I used to live about 45 minutes from them.
And are they okay, as far as you know, physically today, as we sit here?
Yes.
And
Why aren't they
are you
here?
concerned that because you've told now on the Latin Kings that they're going to come kill your whole family?
I mean, I just told you that I knew that was told then that Luis Rivera, the head of the Latin Kings, killed Dan Markel. So, I mean, I do have some concern when I get out.
Right, but even
After
after
me.
sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I said I do have some concern with Latin Kings now that I've spoken, told what I know.
But what about, I mean, Rivera was already in custody at one point, as well as Garcia and McBanoa. My understanding is your continued fear was due to other Latin Kings, potentially. Is that accurate?
These are highly connected people. Luis Rivera, the head of the Latin Kings, in custody means absolutely nothing. If you think he can't send somebody from the outside, you're wrong.
All right. So my question to you is, did that happen? Because you told yesterday,
Was I killed yesterday when I was in jail? No.
and nobody in your family has been killed so far.
You're talking about the last 24 hours?
Right.
Not that I know.
Okay. But you're worried about that.
I think now that I've spoken, I do have a concern, yes.
Okay. But not too concerned to remain silent when it's your own butt on the line, right?
I'm here to tell the truth. Yes, do I have a concern now that I told you what happened? Absolutely.
Mom tells you on that first wire call that the bump involves the two of us, referring to yourself and your mom, right?
Yes, that's what she said.
And would you agree, prior to your explanation, that looks pretty incriminating?
I think if you don't know what happened, you can assume the worst.
Isn't it true that you had to add the bit about confiding your extortion in your mom in order to put that toothpaste back in the tube?
No, that's what happened when I got the checks.
Otherwise, why would you bring your mom into this?
I didn't want to. When I first told her on the phone and asked her to write the checks, I told her, I said, just as a long story, I brushed it off and she didn't press anything, but I think she was out somewhere. It wasn't until when I picked up the checks that she started pressuring me and saying, this makes no sense. Why are you doing this? You're not dating Katie. And that's when she found out.
But your mom is the most high-strung out of the whole group, right? And she's old and she worries, right?
I don't think she's super high strung, but she does worry about her
You
kids.
don't?
No, you've never met her.
Well, you said she was, quote, notorious for making a big deal out of everything.
I mean, she overreacts, but she's a mom. I think a lot of moms overreact.
Okay. You could have told her, you know, Katie's down on her luck and I'm just going to be putting her on the payroll. When you were making enough money, you could tell her to just write checks, couldn't you? Why'd you have to tell her it was an extortion from Latin King gang members?
Well, okay, at that time, I didn't know anything about the Latin Kings. But when I told her what happened, I was thinking that, you know what, it actually would be good if someone knows what happened in case I get killed, they at least know what direction to start looking in. So until that point, nobody even knew. So I just, when she started questioning me, I just said, you know what, I'm going to tell you, but don't say a thing to Dad. Don't say a thing to Wendy. You got to promise me. I didn't want her to ever talk about this again. And that was the day that she found out. It was when I got the checks.
What she doesn't say on the wire is, it's happening again. I was approached by another extortionist today. Does she say that?
No, she's talking very carefully.
And you say carefully, but isn't carefully the same thing as code?
No, they're two totally separate things. Do you know the difference?
You weren't really giving her money for a TV, were you?
Giving her money for TV.
This TV is probably going to be about $5. I
Okay.
need you to bring cash tonight.
I wish she picked another object on planet Earth other than TV. But TV is code for absolutely nothing. There is no code in this case involving TV. And you keep circling and circling and circling TV, you're wrong.
Is it a coincidence that the repair of the TV that you bought Wendy as a divorcee because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman is your sister's alibi for the murder? And then your mom brings up TV first call on the wire?
It's
I'm
not an
moving
alibi for a murder. She
outside.
had a broken TV. You got to ask Lincoln to throw the remote at the
Was
TV.
it a coincidence? Is the TV thing a coincidence? That's what I hear you say.
Oh, that the repairman was there that day?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is a coincidence for sure. There's a
And
couple
all
of
the-
coincidences in this case.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I said there's a couple of coincidences in this case. I mean, she had people send her an email to go buy a bottle of Bullet Bourbon for their Stockton bar party, and she was driving to a liquor store to buy a bottle of Bullet Bourbon on that day, at that time, and her friend sent the email, and you have the email and evidence. Like, is that a coincidence? Yeah, coincidences happen.
And that you might not be the right Katie talk. That doesn't seem to really fit with your theory of the case, does it? What was your explanation for that? Why you kept saying you might not be the right Katie? I mean, she's definitely the right Katie, right?
Absolutely. She knew it was. I was implying it was her. I was just trying to say, I'm not setting you up, but I need your help.
On call B, your mom, you call your mom back and you say, you probe her a little bit, and ultimately you say, you think someone's trying to blackmail you? That's crazy. Why does it sound like this is something that's new and unfathomable to you at that moment?
Well, because I wasn't even following what my mom was talking about on the first call. And on the second call, when she shocked me when she said that. And I'd been extorted before. Her saying to bring cash, everything just didn't sound right.
Could we play clip 4, please? This is from Dolce.
Sorry, from what?
Clip 4 from Dolce. Even if they had any evidence, the first words out of your mouth on this clip, even if they had any evidence. No, strike. The quote is, if you say, if they had any evidence, we'd have already gone to the airport. And I know you already testified about this, but does an innocent person say, if they had any evidence?
Right. Katie's saying it's the police, and I'm saying that we're innocent. They're not going to have any evidence to show we were part of something that we were part of. If we had any part of this, we'd go to the airport right now.
Isn't it true, doctor, that they're not going to have any evidence because you were careful?
No, because we weren't a part of this.
You were smart.
No, we weren't a part of this.
You walled yourself off
I
from
was
the
sure they're
killers.
not going to have evidence to show I did something I didn't do. So we're not running to the airport.
And you're untouchable, right?
No, we didn't do a murder. I wasn't part of a murder. There's no reason to run to the airport.
In the next clip, you're discussing what's going to happen if this person that did the bump goes to the police. And you're going through all these scenarios, you know, these possibilities.
But if he goes to the police?
Yeah, the blackmailer goes to the police. They're going to say, where's the weapon? He's not going to know. He's just going to have hearsay, basically. Someone told me they did it. It's not going to be enough to get the investigation anywhere. Why are you thinking through the possibility of the blackmailer going to the cops if the blackmailer doesn't have any dirt on you to take to the cops?
I wasn't thinking about the blackmailer. What I was trying to say is I don't know anything about Sufredo. I don't know anything about this crime. I was trying to tell her that I'm harmless. I don't have any knowledge of what went on. Like, the last thing I wanted is that now that she's saying it's the police, is someone to come and kill me and think I'm some kind of loose end. So
But
that's why I'm saying that.
But that's not what you're saying. You're saying if this is a person that Luis Rivera ran his mouth to and they go to the police, it's going to be worth 0. because they're not going to know anything other than, hey, my brother told me this.
I don't know if I was saying with someone who knows Luke Rivera. I was trying to make a point that I don't know anything.
And then you suggest what they would have to do is get him to wear a wire and get the person to confess. And that's probably what this could be, an effort to do, right?
Well, they're thinking that we were part of a murder. So this was the same thing I said before, is that this is their theory. So this is a police tactic, and it could be either a bad guy or the police. And this is how they're pursuing it.
Exactly. So as long as you keep your mouth shut, you can get away with murder, right?
No, not at all.
Isn't that what you told Ryan Fitzpatrick?
No, Ryan Fitzpatrick is someone who stole over $500,000 from
That's
me.
not my question, sir.
Sorry.
Did you say that to Ryan
No,
Fitzpatrick?
never at all.
Why do you go into so much detail about rental car examples? Let's start with strike that. Can you agree that the Prius, you knew that the police were looking for a Prius at the time you met at this Dolce Vita restaurant?
I think it had been released at that time.
All right, and you heard the recording. You're arguing. Let's play the clip. This is going to be clip. I think let's play 7 and 8, please. Dolce.
Because the fact is, like, even if, let's say, I just got my car, and then I go ahead and I go, I get in the car, I go, yeah, he was in my car, he got out, he did the horrible crime. Okay, they're not going to hit the car. He was in my car. He got a car between us, and I got out of the car. He had nothing to do with the car. Outside of that, there's no evidence. And, you know, if you have a car and like this person right in that car, okay. But you know, you have to prove that they were also driving that day and rented and wanted to go ride. What if you rented the car and hey, can I borrow for the weekend? I'll bring you back on Tuesday. Yeah, sure. So you rented the car. You've been in that car. I drive into fucking Orlando. I rob the tunnels in Orlando. I come back and I go to and okay, thanks. Yeah, if you rented it, what if you were fucking out all weekend even though I took your car? I need something to drive that. Okay. But my point is, I don't have any knowledge. And then this person is pretending to us. I don't want someone paying for this.
It sounds like you're saying, even if they track down the Prius, even if there's DNA or fingerprints in the Prius, meaning like they can link someone to the Prius, that's not going to be enough evidence to make any arrests in this case. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. What I'm doing is I'm restating.
You've answered my question.
Can I give you an
On redirect, you'll have an opportunity.
Look,
My question was,
One moment. We're not just wildly arguing. Mr. Adelson, please answer the question.
okay.
I can just ask you a yes or no question.
Please allow me to answer your question.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Put yourself out.
What I was saying to Katie is that the information she just told me in the car about Sigfredo not being there when the crime was committed, she told me that Sigfredo was high on drugs at the hotel and that Luis had rented a car and that he's the one who killed Dan. And I'm restating to her that I don't have any knowledge of what went on and that all I know is that Sigfredo wasn't even there when this happened. So that's what I'm restating to her.
That Sigfredo can't be caught even if he's connected to the crime, to the car?
I know that Sigfredo wasn't the one who killed Dan.
Okay. Wouldn't it be good for you, because you know now that Sigfredo is an extortionist, right? She just told you that in the car?
Sigfredo, yeah.
Okay. And wouldn't it be good for you if the police investigation into the Prius led to the arrest of the killers/extortionists?
If they arrested the people that killed Dan,
Yeah,
I know the extortion would stop. As long as I kept my mouth shut, I'd be safe.
right. So why are you trying to argue to her that like the car is not going to lead anywhere? They're not going to be able to do anything with the car.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I know that Sigfredo wasn't the one who killed him.
Did you say on this recording, if they're a bad guy, there's two ways of dealing with it. Go ahead and contact the police. They'll contact him, blackmailer, and arrange a setup. Take him down and he'll proffer 10 years and now tell us everything you know or else you're going to serve 10 years in prison. Next thing you know, this person is singing. He's calling out your name. My parents are going to have to tell the story of what happened. Singing about what? About the extortion?
No, I think you're reading it wrong. I know the audible is bad.
What would
Are those the words?
Yes, sir. What would the extortionist, and now I'm referring to the one that contacted your mother.
The Latin King extortion.
Well, they're both Latin
Yeah.
kings, right?
The second extortion.
What would they have to sing about?
The second extortion would be singing and talking about the first extortion, where they learned their information from.
Who cares? That doesn't have anything to do with you.
Well, when they catch the first extortion, Katie's tied to them and I'm tied to Katie. They're going to come talk to us, and we're going to be in danger when we tell them what happened. So I was saying if they catch the second, they're going to turn in on the first, and that's the same thing I said yesterday.
You gave very precise instructions to Catherine McVanwell on what she was to say when she calls the phone number, right?
Yeah,
you do that?
Absolutely.
And then you say, quote, "You'd better kill him because he's going to be a big problem. And he knows who you are. If he can't do it, I'll have someone else do it." Aren't you telling her that if Garcia can't handle this problem and kill whoever's behind this, you will have someone else do it.
You're reading it totally wrong.
It's a yes or no question, sir.
No, you're wrong.
When Dan Markel's murder was taking too long to happen, didn't you tell Catherine Magbanua that if she couldn't get it done, you would find someone else to do it?
No, I've never said that either.
And then you say in the recording, I'm back to Dolce now. Yeah, and when guess what? When the effing police show up and there's a doctor, there's an oral surgeon standing there with a dead gang member in his effing driveway, they're not going to come down too hard on me. So you knew you'd be believed if you went to the police, right?
I didn't know I'd be believed, but I feared for my life.
And then you say, so help me God, if they fuck with my family, it's going to be fucking Nazi shit, because this will be done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Katie, I don't care what I spend, okay? I swear to God. What is Nazi shit?
That's an expression that Katie would use to describe someone that's going crazy. So I think the Nazis were absolutely crazy people. So I'm saying I'm going to get somebody to go crazy on the guy that's trying to extort my mom for money. I'll pay someone to go threaten him and to scare him. I was not talking about killing anybody.
Well, you say the word kill, yes?
No. Oh, when you're putting the words in my mouth, well, we can do that sentence.
Do you say the word kill?
I'm talking about if Sigfredo's coming after you, he's such a dangerous guy, you'd have to kill him to stop him. That's the only thing you could do. Not talking about killing the extorter. I'm talking second extortion.
Okay.
I'm saying that if Sigfredo's coming after you, the only thing that you could do is you have to kill him to stop him. I'm not talking about killing anybody. I'm talking about that's the only way that you could stop Sigfredo from coming after you is you would have to kill him. And that's exactly what I said there. You're wrong. That's exactly what I said.
All right, thank you. Nazis kill, right?
Wow.
Is that like their primary objective?
No, I think Nazis are insane, crazy people
That exterminate, right?
that kill. Yes, but they're crazy. That was an expression she would use, and that's when I used it to her. But basically saying, I'm gonna have someone
That's
crazy.
an interesting phrase to use with your Jewish
Isn't what you're
boyfriend.
doing here in this portion of the tape, feeling her out to make sure Garcia doesn't have any bad feelings toward you?
When I said it, yeah, I thought he could have been behind the second extortion. I think I've said that before.
Then you go into like how your relationships didn't overlap, you never disrespected him, and you mentioned that you don't think that they, I assume you mean these other people, associates that have contacted your mom, would want to mess with his connections, right? Remember?
But you're talking about the copycat extortion.
Right. And then you ask if he's too far removed, or can he still make a call? Are you referring to Garcia in that?
Yeah, exactly.
So can Garcia make a call to try to figure out who this is?
Could Garcia help stop the second extortion? Someone's doing a piggyback extortion on the first. That's exactly what I said.
On the topic of conversation for Catherine Magbanua, don't you say, I look for things to do, I show you, that's the difference. You don't ask me for shit. You said all those things. Right?
Absolutely. That's proving what I've been saying all along is that I didn't think she was part of this. So I was doing things to keep her happy from time to time. At Ethan's birthday, I brought up there. I gave her $300. I helped her out with the car when her car was broken, for sure.
And then you say, listen, you giving somebody money is not an admission of any kind of guilt. Would paying the money have made her look guilty?
That's what she was saying to me. She said it's the police. You can't pay the police. They're going to think you were part of a murder and they're going to arrest you.
But if it was an extortionist, it could have created a monster, right?
And if you don't pay the extortionist, you could get killed.
So when
Or you
these
could keep getting
guys,
extorted.
I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
said if you don't pay the extortionist, you could get killed, or you could keep getting extorted.
But your main concern was that if we pay, this guy will think I'm an ATM machine, right? He'll keep coming back again and again and again. Don't you articulate that to Catherine Magbanua?
If it was an extorter, that was one of the concerns. The other concern was not paying him and getting killed.
But what you say is, well, I don't remember the quote exactly. The main concern, what I'm most worried about, is that they're going to keep coming back for more, right?
I don't remember using the word.
Well,
the main
that's what
concern.
they do.
But what you don't say in here is like what you or your homies have been doing to me for 2 years.
Your
Of course not. I don't want her
homies.
to think I'm setting her up.
Why are you explaining extortion and how extortion works to Catherine Magbanua?
In there?
Yeah,
Because I know.
but she knows too, doesn't she?
So
Sorry.
I repeat myself. I do
You
that.
also explain it to your mother how extortion works, and she's has known about it for 2 years too, right?
From what I told her, yeah.
No one is
Then you say, if someone's messing with you, they're
buying
messing
any
with
of
me.
this.
And if someone's messing with me, they're messing with you. It's one and the same, right?
Yes, I said that.
You're in this together, right?
We're both innocent.
I'll switch my poll. Let me do a new
You were-
poll.
Very obviously relieved on the wire when you came to the conclusion that this was law enforcement. Would you agree with that?
Very relieved, yeah.
All right. And at that same time that on the wire you're expressing
It's
relief,
cold outside.
or I should say, shortly after all the relief expressed on the wire, we've got the arrest of Catherine Magbanua, right?
No.
No. Okay. Would you
Make
agree
sure
that
to
it
hit the
goes
like button
relief
if
on the
you're
wire,
watching.
then arrest of Catherine Magbanua?
You want to give me dates? Because Kathy was arrested 6 months later.
Okay.
The
Can
wire
we
was in
agree
April.
that
She was
you were
arrested in
very
October.
relieved on the wire and that 6 months later, Catherine Magbanua was arrested?
She was arrested 6 months later, correct?
And 6 months later, after you were completely relieved on the wire, you begin to exhibit these extreme behavior changes that we've heard about. And what is your explanation for that?
Where is she going
Because I
with
thought I'd
that?
be falsely arrested.
Did you encourage Catherine Magbanua to reconcile with Garcia? That's a yes or no.
Yes, for sure I did.
Was that a good decision for her or a good decision for you?
Neither.
You've heard your lawyer say that you talk a lot. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
And you talk a lot on the wire, right?
Yes, I do.
Do you agree you're not a direct person?
My direct person.
There's a lot of circular talking on the wire.
I mean, however you want to describe my mannerisms of talking, you're welcome to describe it.
I'll do that in closing. What I'm asking is, do you agree that you are like that?
I think at times I'm direct, for sure.
Do you have a way of saying things without really saying it?
No, I think I'm pretty direct with things.
Do you think you can talk your way out of this?
No, I don't. I'm not part of a murder.
Who are they going to believe, right? An oral
Okay,
surgeon or a gangster?
That's extorting me in my driveway and coming and threatening me.
You're untouchable, right?
No, I'm not part of this murder. Yeah,
There was a
well,
lot of talk about going to the police on the wire, which I think we've well established did not happen. But you've always gone to the police before, right?
I've had other things that have gone to the police for, yeah.
You've gone to the police in reference to something to do with your child's mother? Yes or no?
Yes.
You've gone to the police when you were threatened to be blackmailed over something with a woman back in 2015. Remember that?
No, I didn't go to the police.
Did you send a letter from your lawyer indicating that describing her actions as an attempted shakedown and indicating that not only will Dr. Adelson never pay a settlement, he will undoubtedly prevail and seek attorney's fees against your client?
Right. That's a civil complaint, and somebody was making an unfounded civil complaint, threatening filing a lawsuit, and an attorney handled the civil complaint. The police were never notified. But it was a civil suit.
It was somebody trying to shake you down for money.
It was a unfounded claim from a civil suit to me and another dentist that it was evolving.
It was a claim that potentially had criminal implications as well, wasn't it, doctor?
For me?
Yes.
No. There's never a police investigation with that.
In 2018, did you report an aggravated assault where a vehicle was driving aggressively and narrowly avoided striking you?
I had a reporter almost kill my 10-week-old puppy dog that I was walking because I was going for a walk in the morning and he was stalking outside my house.
In 2018, did you report an aggravated assault where a vehicle was driving aggressively and narrowly avoided striking you?
He was more or less hit my dog too, but yeah.
Do your nephews deserve to know the whole truth about who killed their father?
Yeah, now they do.
Do Danny's parents deserve to know what happened to their son?
Absolutely.
And you say you knew. I mean, you now say you knew a big piece of what happened, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Do you feel bad about not volunteering that to Danny's parents?
I feel a sense of relief that now I was able to tell everybody what finally happened.
Yesterday, almost 10 years later, right?
Yeah.
And that's because you didn't just know a big piece of it. You were a big piece of it, weren't you, doctor?
I was extorted and I knew a lot, yeah.
1 moment, please, Your Honor.
Before we redirect, do any of the members of the jury need to take a break before we continue with the examinations? The bailiff will escort you back to the
We
jury
are
room.
going.
We'll have a brief 10-minute break before we have a redirect.
We are going to do closings.
Charles Adelson commanded, encouraged, hired, or requested Catherine Magbanua, because we're not going to introduce.
Hit this defendant where it hurts. These two dudes, with no connection at all to Dan Markel, and without 2 nickels to rub together, rented a car and paid for gas to come to Tallahassee and stay in a hotel twice in order to kill someone that this defendant hated. To harm him. And for what? To maybe get money. Maybe he just turns him in for murder. Why not just kill and rob him if what you're after is money and there's no hired hit? Why not just kill and rob him if your motive is, we hate him? Then the bad guys don't even have any contact with him, according to his own story. They didn't threaten him, they did not beat him into submission. Instead, they sent his own girlfriend to extort him on their behalf. And without any actual contact from the bad guys, the defendant just opened up his safe and handed over his beloved money that he had saved his entire life since he was a child. He just handed it over. Take it all. And when that amount wasn't sufficient, these stone cold murdering gangsters let the defendant go on a payment plan to give him the rest of the money. They let Catherine Magbanua skim off the top each month. And never, over the next 2 years that he was being extorted monthly, these gangsters, remember that money doesn't go to the principal, that $3,000 a month. They never show up to demand the remaining $195,000 that this defendant has agreed to pay them. Then you also need to find reasonable that over the 2 years of this supposed extortion layaway plan, that the
Extortion
defendant continued to
layaway
do
plan.
what? Send these kissy faces and love texts to Catherine McBanoff. He's sending these messages to a woman who got him into this mess, and he says he didn't suspect she was involved. What? What do we know about this man?
What?
He didn't suspect she was involved. She's taking the money. He's never even heard from the bad guys. He didn't see it that way, that she got him into this mess. They grew closer after she began extorting him for $3,000 a month. Meanwhile, the defendant and Catherine McBanoff break up. She continues to maintain her direct and
Murder
indirect
typically
contact with
doesn't
Sigfredo
make
Garcia, the
relationships
man who's
last.
extorting him, the man who murdered his former brother-in-law in cold blood. But he sees her as a friend. The kissy faces and the I love yous continue, even after Catherine McBanoff got back together with the man who executed Dan Markel, the father of his young nephews, and a guy who's actively extorting him. This defendant continued to reach out to her over and over again to offer her favors and gifts, including a birthday gift for Garcia, and to tell her he loves her and how lucky he is to have her in his life. Lucky? Next, to find a reasonable doubt here, you have to find it reasonable
That's one way to
that the
put it.
defendant never texted or talked about this first layer of extortion. Why? According to him, because Catherine McBanoff said, let's never talk about this. So they did. Then you have to believe he never reported or revealed this information to law
Sorry,
enforcement
it's really
out of fear
loud.
of the gangsters. And finally, you have to believe that this living in fear of death by gang members over 2 years didn't cause a change in his general demeanor that his friends noticed, but later the bump from law enforcement did. He says that's because, well, I became worried that I might be falsely arrested. So I wasn't a hot mess when I was being extorted by gang members and threatened to be killed and my whole family killed. But I became a hot mess when I started to get worried that the cops might be getting closer. And I have no real way of knowing if all this stuff sounds ridiculous to you, if it sounds reasonable to you, or if y'all just heard so much stuff that you're totally confused and can't even remember what the evidence.
Well, yeah, it
But they only
sounds
need to get one of
ridiculous.
you confused enough to derail this whole thing, right? So I've got to go through each thing with you. Your verdict has to be unanimous. So I want to go through the testimony, I want to review the evidence, and I want to spend a little bit more time talking about this multitude of explanations the defense has offered in an effort to really turn each piece of evidence on its head. This is Dan Markel.
this should be,
He
you know,
is the victim in this
Good.
case. A brilliant lawyer, a funny guy, a
he's so
son,
good.
colleague, a brother, a mentor, and a friend. But most of all, a father. A dedicated and loving father whose downfall was brought about by the fact that his number one priority was maximizing his access to those two little boys in the wake of a bitter divorce from their mother. And despite the defense's efforts to characterize their client as the real victim here, Dan Markel remains the only victim in this case. The only thing he was guilty of is fighting like hell for those kids. And he lost. He didn't lose in court, but he lost. This is what he looked like before this defendant hired a hitman to kill him. And this is what he looked like afterwards.
Oh God.
The evidence has shown that on July 18, 2014, this brilliant man was gunned down in broad daylight in the driveway of his own home. His horrific death ultimately set police down two separate paths following the two most promising leads they had. The first was to chase down that Prius that Mr. Geiger saw fleeing the crime scene.
What a
And we'll
stupid
examine those
criminal
efforts in
car.
detail. The second path was to ask, as we would in any murder investigation, who might want to have done this? Who would want Dan Markel dead? And within 1 hour of the shooting, before Professor Markel was even pronounced dead, this path was already pointing to the defendant. When his sister revealed to law enforcement that her family hated Dan Markel and that her brother, Charlie, had joked about hiring a hitman to kill him. And this trash talk, of course, would be meaningless had he not been killed by a hitman. So who did it appear had a motive to want Dan Markel dead? His own family. And what offense had Mr. Markel committed against these people?
Ex-family.
Refusing to let his children be taken away from him? Objecting to them disparaging him to his kids? The evidence has shown that the Adelson family was all about psychological warfare. When all else failed, they were willing to go even further to win. I want to examine this motive in more detail and look at exactly how it's attributable to this defendant. Despite the defense efforts to minimize this, it's really clear that the divorce between Wendy and Danny was a particularly nasty one. They fought over everything, all the way from the children down to the bicycle and a tennis racket.
Like,
In
I
January of
can't
2013,
imagine
Wendy Adelson filed a motion
arguing
to
over
allow
two
her to
different
relocate to South Florida with the kids. They were 2 and 3 at that time. As one basis for this request, Wendy cites the wife's parents reside in Coral Springs and the wife's brother resides 20 minutes away. The children are very close to the wife's parents. Wendy Adelson also alleges in his filing that the husband has also created a hostile work environment for the wife at FSU School of Law. Wendy Adelson viewed herself as stuck in Tallahassee, a characterization which she now denies, but one which was used to describe her situation by Jeffrey Lacasse on the witness stand and also in her own pleadings in these divorce filings. In Markel's answer on page 80, he seeks continued equal time sharing in Tallahassee. He seeks sole parental responsibility on issues related to the education, religion, and medical upbringing of the kids. When we go to this May email from Donna Adelson to Wendy, these emails are offered as examples of how invested Donna Adelson was in this litigation and in Wendy's life in general. They reveal that relocation was a huge priority for Donna and that it was also a high priority for Wendy, Harvey, and the defendant as well. Wendy testified that her mom really wasn't that involved in her divorce proceedings. Again, these emails prove the opposite was true. On May 3rd, 2013, this email references Dan's divorce filing as, quote, his 23-page rant. She then crystallizes the importance of relocation, stating, the most important part of your divorce is relocation, in bold. I sincerely hope that your attorney understands this is your, all caps, non-negotiable. She needs to hear from you how serious you are about this and how it will benefit the children with a close-knit family support system, as well as your significantly better paying job. But on June 21st, 2013, Wendy's motion to relocate was denied by the court, with the court finding that the wife has not met her burden of proof that a relocation is in the best interest of the minor children. Like the heroine in her book, Wendy and the boys were officially stuck in this small stop on the way to what we had previously known as civilization. Wendy worked hard to try to convince you that none of this was a very big deal to her, her mother, or her brother. And she said she was expecting to win everything in the divorce. She was expecting Danny to lose everything in the divorce. She was partly right. Danny did end up losing everything, but not in court. She had already lost relocation, and her attorney had to get off the case as a result of whatever Danny was filing in court. And he was poised to really take her through the ringer with this grandma motion, the fraud allegation, and the contempt motion that was all pending. Even if he wasn't going to be successful, folks, it was going to be a very unpleasant ride for Wendy Adelson. But as we have learned, Jibbers hadn't beaten the Adelson family yet. On the stand, Wendy Adelson suggested that relocation was not a big issue for her. It was just suggested by a friend, but the other evidence in the case suggests the opposite. Jeffrey Lacasse says she was a complete mess over the litigation, especially the relocation. She wrote a book about a human rights attorney who was stuck in a small town in the Florida Panhandle because of her hapless Canadian professor husband's job at NFSU. And maybe most importantly, Wendy filed this motion for relocation. Her lawyer didn't file it without her knowing. Was the motion doomed from the start? Wendy clearly hoped not. But there were other ways to skin the cat. Here's a June email from Donna to Wendy. In response to the court order denying relocation, Donna emails Wendy, quote, it's time for action. It's time to take control of your life and not let Jibbers think he's won anything by having you remain in Tallahassee, 8 hours away from the only family you have. Let's show this F, blank, 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 what will make him absolutely miserable. And later, the rest of your life, and consequently, Dad's, mine, and yes, even Charlie's, will be affected by how well you can perform/act before July 31st. You can be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life. Jibbers hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet.
I've seen you be an actress.
Then on June
Blah, blah, blah.
25th, this is continued, that same email, we get a plan of action. Take a photo of the boys dressed nicely standing at the front door by the sign of the Tallahassee church. They're Jewish, remember? Then change your Facebook status to this one so everyone will see this. Perhaps a line under the photo with new beginnings in Tallahassee might be nice. How happy do you think you will be? Make arrangements to get the boys caught up with a private tutor at the Teenage Catholic Church who will come to the house to teach the young men about Jesus. If you don't have time to arrange this, I'll be happy to do it for you.
Who
Let
has
Jibbers
time
know
to
that
do
your
that?
children will be baptized in the Catholic Church, and you'll certainly invite him to the event. I've already checked this out, and the baptism can be arranged within 2 weeks. We can send out e-bites to Jibbers, his parents, sister, and anyone else you want to invite. 4, I'm looking into summer camp programs for the boys. We will pay for it, even if the boys end up only going for a few days that they're in Tallahassee with you. 5, register them for toddler classes at the church. I've looked into this too. Even if they don't actually go, we can show Jibbers that they are enrolled for the fall semester. And you cannot tell anyone this is an act. Take control from him. Get to him psychologically. He's going to want you to stop this. You have one final opportunity to make him angry. We want him ticked off so he realizes that he could lose control over his kids. We plan to make a financial offer to him to allow this relocation. You need to work this plan and we'll help you through it so that it may affect how much we offer him. Maybe he's willing to let you relocate if he knew his children could attend this private Hebrew academy.
This would
Or
make me
perhaps
even more
you'd like
upset
them
as
to
a
invite him to
parent.
a Christmas
Just
party at
saying.
their other Sunday school. Let's get this going now. I know you would never want to think that you didn't do absolutely everything you could to come down to your family. Dad and I have changed our lives this year to support you and assist you and the boys in every possible way. Charlie has accepted the loss in office business income for us to do this because he loves you and wants only the best possible future for you. It's time for you to show us that you can put on the performance of your life for the next few weeks. And then on June 27th, she follows up with another email along the same lines, criticizing the judge and Wendy's attorney and adding, obviously the court is going to
Always
help you.
someone else's
It's clear since
fault.
Judge Hobbs' last ruling that she could care less about anything you have to say on your behalf. You need to help yourself. You know, Wendy, most of the wars that have been fought for the last couple of thousand years have been fought over religion. These emails are such telling glimpses into the family dynamics behind this murder. This email is just an example of how relentless Donna Adelson was. And it's clear from these emails that she's conferring with the defendant on these plans that she's proposing. Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done and they did what they needed to accomplish it. You have a job to get done in a very short time frame to accomplish it. If you dressed the kids up in Hitler youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance that would show Gibbers that he's not in control. Why not stand up to this fucker? Why not fight? That's all this is, Wendy, an act of defiance that will put a scare into this jackass. It will infuriate him. You need to see the big picture. You need to look into the future of what a life without your only family nearby teaching in Tallahassee with Danny always in the picture will give you. It's not a pretty picture. Not everything one has to do in life is comfortable or easy. The extremism that Gibbers is already teaching the boys is nothing more than brainwashing. Religion is brainwashing, control of the masses. I don't think you realize the type of offer we're considering.
What?
We're planning on you, Charlie, Dad, and I going as high as equal parts in a $1 million offer. That's $333,000 from each of us. We're a team. We can't do this without your help. You've already lost relocation according to the legal system. Well, it is about winning and losing. We're trying to get a win. You deserve it. You deserve so much more than a life without family teaching in Tallahassee. Even though the divorce was final on July 31st, 2013, the anger and bitterness associated with this split was still festering. Litigation continued and even increased as both parties filed motions over the next several months alleging that the other was violating the marital settlement agreement, and both parties seeking to have the other side held in contempt of court. In October of 2013, Wendy filed a motion to enforce the marital settlement agreement and have Dan held in contempt. And Dan was hearing, and the defendant was hearing about all of this as it went on from his mother, as indicated in the emails and in the text messages shown here as well. Here she's telling him how terrible things are for Wendy and how it's negatively affecting his dad's health. Then later that month, when Wendy was about to make the second dumbest mistake of her life after marrying Dan Markel by buying a house in Tallahassee, Charlie says Wendy probably hasn't mentioned it to him because it's stupid. And then after he gets Wendy to pull the plug on the house, he's praised as the miracle worker that solved this problem. This text was sent on Halloween of 2013, the very day that Catherine McDaniel testified. This defendant broached the subject to her of, hey, do you know anybody that could rough somebody up? The defendant was hearing about Wendy's situation regularly from Donna. Here we see Donna telling the defendant how angry at Wendy's attorney and stressed out Wendy is. That's on February 15th of 2014. And here's another text from Donna Adelson to Charlie Adelson 4 days later, discussing the details of Danny's actions and expressing how much she hates him.
Wow. Hilarious.
Here on March 4th, 2014, we have Donna planning to speak in private with the defendant while she's at the rest stop in Gainesville. She asks him to delete this message after he reads it. Although he's not with Harvey, and Harvey nor his birthday are mentioned in this text message. All that's mentioned in this text message is, I'm gonna pull over at a rest stop and talk to you in private. This is the grandma motion. On March 26, 2014, less than 4 months prior to this murder, the defendant files his grandma motion, the counter motion for enforcement of the marital settlement agreement on parenting issues, and motion for contempt and sanctions. Again, alleging that Wendy is not facilitating communication between he and the kids and getting after Donna personally. In this filing, Dan Markel alleges that on 3 separate occasions in November of 2013, the children informed him of their maternal grandmother, Donna Adelson, disparaging him. The boys indicate that, quote, "Grandma says you're stupid. She says you are trying to take her sunshines away from her." And, quote, "Grandma says she hates you." Dan Markel requested for, quote, "enjoin the former wife from allowing the maternal grandmother to have unsupervised time with the children and to impose appropriate limitations to safeguard the children from being subjected to disparaging comments about their father." Contrary to what Wendy Adelson told us, we learned this issue was taken seriously by both sides, and that Dan Markel was particularly hot at the time of his death because of some recent issues that were going on. So to the extent that there was any banana bread peace offering made, it apparently fell short of diffusing the issues within this family. This situation was a pressure cooker, and it was about to blow. As we learned, this grandma motion was never decided by the court because Dan Markel was murdered before it could be heard. Whether or not that is a coincidence in timing is up to you all to decide. Wendy told you that she and Dan were getting along pretty well at the time the weeks leading up to his murder. But this assertion does not fit with the rest of the evidence in this case. In fact, her own court filings are completely contrary to that assertion. In addition, her boyfriend at the time, Jeffrey LaCasse, told you all that she took all of this very seriously, that
I'll
she
be right
became
back.
upset every time there was a filing, and that her behavior became increasingly emotional and erratic as the time led closer and closer up to what ultimately was the murder day. According to LaCasse, she was especially concerned about the relocation issue. And Stephen Webster, he was Professor Markel's attorney who testified, told us that Markel was irate at the time of his death over 2 issues. The first being Wendy enrolling one of the kids in a school without consulting him, and the second one being him overhearing Donna Adelson refer to him as stupid on a recent Skype visit that he had with the boys. So this was far from the peaceful situation that Wendy was trying to sell you. Why was she trying to sell you that? Was she trying to protect her brother? She even told law enforcement at her interview on the day of the murder that she wanted everyone held accountable for this to the fullest extent of the law, unless it was her family. The defense seems to be telling you the litigation between Danny and Wendy was not a very big deal because minimizing the litigation minimizes the motive for the Adelson family to want Dan Markel dead. They even called Wendy's attorney to tell you that relocation was a lost cause. But what she actually said was, yes, I lose most of these motions, but in this case, I actually thought there was a chance because of some of the surrounding circumstances. Then I thought, well, maybe they called her to say the divorce was routine, but what she actually said was this case was odd. That was her word, mainly because Dan Markel came after her personally, forcing her to withdraw from the case, which had never happened before. So what her testimony proved was that this was not a routine run-of-the-mill divorce proceeding. It was one of her more difficult cases. And she didn't even have Donna in her ear like the defendant did. So the motive was clearly there. The question then becomes, was the defendant successful in distancing himself from that motive in your eyes as jurors? He says that the litigation had no impact on his life. The emails suggest otherwise. He's included on these texts. He's all over the wiretap, meddling in Wendy's life with Donna. Could the defendant have cared enough about his sister's marital problems to commit murder? Maybe, maybe not. But if he didn't, his mom certainly cared enough for both of them. And she was in his ear all the time. In defendant's own words, you can't have a miserable mom. To illustrate this point, I refer you back to the emails and to that phone call that I played that happened before the bump, where Donna and the defendant are discussing this boyfriend of Wendy's at that time, Dave. This call, along with the call about Wendy taking a particular job, which is also on that same exhibit, I think it states 130, was offered as examples to show you how the dynamics work in this family. Wendy appears to be the weakling of the pack. She needs to be protected. She needs to be helped. She needs to be coddled. She needs to be saved by Donna and the defendant. Donna is the overbearing matriarch who nags everyone to death about whatever it is that's currently on her. I call it the wheel. The wheel's turning all the time, right? And Wendy getting away from Dan Markel and moving to South Florida was number 1 on the wheel. It was the top priority in 2013 and in 2014. And this defendant fancied himself the savior of this family. Equal parts black sheep and mama's boy, he would often try to help Wendy at Donna's bidding. When a problem was perceived regarding Wendy's love life, aka was breaking up with Dave situation, shouldn't break up with Dave, Dave's a great guy, Donna enlists the defendant to go in and fix it, to solve the problem. When Wendy didn't know what was best for her regarding a job opportunity, Donna sent the defendant to fix it. And the evidence has shown that Dan Markel was a major problem for Wendy, and that meant he was a major problem for Donna, who in turn made Dan Markel a major problem for this defendant. Enter Catherine Magbanua, who had connections to a criminal element, and she presented an opportunity to the defendant to do what he does and solve this problem. On Halloween 2013, the defendant began the process of soliciting Catherine Magbanua to commit murder. Magbanua solicited Garcia. Garcia brought in Rivera. So if the seed of this conspiracy was planted in the spring of 2013, when Donna was looking into converting the kids to Christianity or making this $1 million offer to Dan Markel,
I need to
it took root
readjust
that
the
summer
camera.
when the
Hold on one
relocation
second.
was denied, and the defendant began, quote, looking into all options to solve the problem of Danny Markel, including hiring a hitman. And the conspiracy grew further still when Dan Markel filed that motion to preclude Donna
There we
from
go.
going unsupervised contact with the grandkids, the grandma motion. And as Wendy Adelson relayed to Jeffrey Lacoste just 5 days before the murder, she was never going to be able to move to South Florida unless something happened to Danny. This conspiracy spread when the defendant met someone who could actually get this thing done. Someone who was in a position of trust in his life, a person who had connections to the kind of people who, for a price, were willing to point a gun at a complete stranger and pull the trigger. And guess what wasn't a problem once Dan Markel was dead? Relocation. Within a couple days, Wendy and the kids moved to South Florida. She changed the names of Professor Markel's children from Markel to Adelson. And just like that, their father was erased. No more squabbles over kosher diets or visitation schedules. No more death matches over marital
Nice.
assets. No more small town pit
Memorize
stop on the way to nowhere in
everything.
Tallahassee. No more Dan Markel. And this case may have gone unsolved if not for a few things. Number one was Mr. Geiger. Does anyone other than James Geiger watch out for their neighbors anymore? He heard a loud noise and looked into it because something wasn't right. His observation and description of that Prius was critical to this investigation. It was really the only clue that police had from the crime scene, other than the fact that this appeared to be a targeted hit rather than a robbery attempt. How would law enforcement even start to find a single light-colored Prius? This investigation may have gone nowhere if not for the tireless efforts of law enforcement
I mean,
to cull through all those
Sun
records
Pass.
seen in evidence or heard referenced in this case, including the tower dump, phone records, Sun Pass records, iCloud, surveillance videos, and so much more looking for needles in haystacks. And they found a few. One is Garcia's phone number, which was in that tower dump from Premier Jim. And when cross-referenced with all the call detail records of all the Adelson family members, there was a single hit. A call from Garcia to Harvey Adelson on July 1st, 2014. An ill-fated attempt to confront who he thought was his baby mama's new boyfriend, but who turned out to be the father of his baby mama's new boyfriend. Then tracking Garcia's cell phone to match, time-wise, a particular Sun Pass that went through toll plazas at the same time as the phone. That Sun Pass was identified as being affixed to a particular rental car, Prius, which led to this rental contract bearing the phone numbers of both Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia. Although you're not being asked to decide the guilt of anyone on the screen other than this defendant, it's necessary for you to understand the roles that each played in order to understand how it is that Charlie Adelson fits into this conspiracy.
See, Wendy's
Whatever your
listed on
thoughts.
there. I think they're going to come after her.
Whatever your thoughts about whether or how much these unindicted players are involved, today's not their trial, and you're not going to be asked to decide anything other than in reference to Charlie Adelson. What is alleged is that the defendant solicited Catherine Magbanawat to commit the murder. He conspired with Catherine Magbanawat to commit the murder with her, and that the murder was accomplished with the defendant guilty as a principal because he hired and paid for this heinous work to be done. All right, let's see what happens when we follow the Prius. So following the Prius, as we talked about, leads to the rental contract bearing the name of Luis Rivera and the phone numbers of both he and Garcia. Those two led to Catherine Magbanawat. Catherine Magbanawat led to this defendant. And I want to walk through exactly how we get from this light-colored Prius fleeing the scene to the defendant. Start with Luis Rivera. The defense may seek to discredit his testimony because he's a bad dude. His status as a felon and a gang member are definitely things you should consider when you're weighing his testimony in this case. But please consider that his resume as a bad guy was precisely why he was selected to do this gruesome job. Rivera's gang status made him a more attractive candidate to do this murder with Garcia. In the hot tub in March of 2014, the defendant mentions his connection to a human criminal element. Jeffrey Lacoste reported this within a couple days of the murder when he couldn't have known the ethnicity of the killer. The evidence has shown that the connection the defendant had was through Catherine Magbanawat, and the criminal element was, of course, Garcia and Rivera. And we know that at the time the defendant made that statement in the hot tub, the plan to kill Dan Markel was already well in the works. That statement was made just 3 months before the killer's first trip to Tallahassee in June of 2014. The statement reveals that the defendant wasn't scared of Catherine Magbanawat and her associates. To the contrary, he was boastful. He was bragging about it. He was a big man who was going to solve his little sister's problem, make his mom proud, and get away with it because he was thinking of everything. And he later would say and call JJ that nothing was done improper and suggest that no evidence could be available to tie the killers to him or his family. And he was confident enough of this to brag about it in that hot tub setting, which he thought could never come back to him. He was untouchable. Because if push ever really came to shove, who are you going to believe? An oral surgeon or a gang member? He's banking on that. In regards to Rivera's plea deal, the actual only condition of his plea deal is to tell the truth. And what did he tell us? Catherine Magbanua hired Garcia, and Garcia hired him to do a murder. Why? To help the lady who he understood to be the dentist's sister to get her kids. Aside from fitting with the other evidence in the case, there were a few things that independently corroborated Rivera's testimony. One is that accidental discharge that he told us took place in the rented Prius. This was a fact we didn't know before and were able to confirm upon reinspection of the vehicle. He also told us about the location and timing of the money drop on the morning after the murder at his and Jessica's residence, which was able to be confirmed or corroborated initially by phone records and now also by Catherine Magbanua's testimony. And of course, the phone records confirm Rivera did come to Tallahassee, not just on the July trip, which we knew about, but also on that first June scouting trip or attempted murder trip. The communication records tell us a few other things too. That's the June trip. July.
They put a lot of effort into
This
getting rid
slide
of
shows
someone.
all
I'll
the
say
calls between
that.
our parties on the night before the shooters made that June trip to Tallahassee. You can see a 25-minute call from Catherine Magbanua to the defendant at 9:17 p.m. on June 2nd, 2014. This call was placed while Catherine Magbanua was consistent with traveling on her way back from Comfort Rental Car, where the first rental car was rented, to her residence. As soon as the defendant hangs up with Katie, he calls his parents' landline and has a 25-minute conversation. On the stand, the defendant was asked about the use of landlines and whether he believed them to be more secure. He testified that on the call he was being asked about at that time, that he was talking about switching over to a landline because he was in a place that had bad reception. If there's bad reception in South Florida at a dental office, what about all the other mentions of using a landline that we hear on the wire? Surely he wasn't in a place with bad reception for all those calls. And why call the parents on the landline? Surely they have reception in their South Beach high-rise. In the 2 years of phone records that were examined in this case, the defendant talks to his parents on the landline 28 times, or 0.07% of the times that he talks to them. So mostly on the cell phone by a large majority. 3 of these 28 times were on the days that the cars were rented to do these trips to Tallahassee. Whether or not that is a coincidence is entirely up to you. After the killers returned from Tallahassee on that first trip, we have a couple text messages of interest. On June 8th, 2014, the defendant indicates he's still working on Dad's birthday present, and Donna indicates, I know you'll come through. Then on July 6th, we've got Wendy Adelson with a location at or near her parents' place when she texts Dan Markel and confirms he's going to be in town for his own murder. This slide depicts the night before the second trip. We know Catherine Magbanua and the defendant are together that evening at her place. He departs between 12:42 and 1 a.m. And then so after the defendant departs Catherine Magbanua's residence, we've got Catherine Magbanua calling Sagrado Garcia. So within minutes of the defendant leaving, she calls Garcia. She talks to Garcia several more times into the wee hours of that night, the last one being at 9:56 a.m. And then at 9 a.m. the next morning, Garcia calls the rental car place. Once the Prius is rented, the second trip begins. The Prius is rented at 6:15 p.m. on July 15th, 2014. There are several calls between our parties on the day that the Prius is rented. So we just talked about the night before the Prius was rented. On the day the Prius was rented, we got these 2 calls, several calls, including these 2 calls from the defendant to his parents' landline. Garcia and Rivera then depart for Tallahassee July 16th, about 2 p.m., and arrive in Tallahassee around 1 a.m. Although this trip was only about 36 hours from the time they left Miami to the time they returned, there were 12 phone events between the defendant and Catherine Magbanua during that time, and there were 4 phone events between the defendant and Donna Adelson during that time frame, including late into the night on the night before the murder.
Man, I never
On July
talked to anyone
17th,
this way.
Magbanua relayed to the shooters that this murder had to be done that day because the victim was scheduled to leave town the next day. And we confirmed that Dan Markel was in fact scheduled to leave for New York City the next morning on July 19th. It's hard to imagine how Luis Rivera could have obtained this information, if not in that pattern that we consistently observe in this case. Defendant to Magbanua, to Garcia, to Rivera, and back the other way. Certainly you're not really to believe that the killers divined this information from the professor's blog. That's not reasonable. Wendy offered that Danny sometimes put his travel information on Facebook, but you learned from Agent Sanford that there was no information about this particular trip on Danny's Facebook, so they didn't get it from there. This is because, as Rivera and Magbanua both told you, this information came in the form of that letter from defendant through Catherine Magbanua. How would these 2 hitmen even know where to go or who to kill if they hadn't been given any kind of instruction. Catherine Magbanua said she knew the plan was to kill Wendy's ex, but she never knew his full name until after he was killed. She did, however, deliver that envelope that the defendant put in her diaper bag to Sigfredo Garcia. The paper she knew contained the instructions for the murder. Defendant advised Catherine Magbanua that she should not touch the envelope or open it, as he had taken precaution to ensure that his prints and DNA would not be on it, that it would be untraceable to him, and she should do the same. She was to deliver the envelope to Garcia, and that's what she did. This is corroborated by Rivera, who says Garcia had a paper with him on the first trip, and it contained a picture of Dan Markel and a printed address. The day of the murder, we have communications between our parties as listed here, with the red line representing time of murder. This flurry of calls between our persons of interest demonstrates the usual call pattern that we're seeing. Donna to the defendant, to Catherine Magbanua, to Garcia, and back. We have Wendy getting a text message on the day of the murder about her TV repair appointment from her mother, Donna Adelson. It indicates that Best Buy is on their way over to help you with the TV sets in your living room. Maybe she didn't remember which TV was broken. At 8:20, on the day of the murder, Wendy texts the defendant, "This is so sweet." That text was deleted. What does it mean? At 9:19 a.m., there's a phone call between Wendy Adelson and this defendant that lasts about 30 minutes? No, like 18 minutes. So this is about 30 minutes before the murder when they hang up. They say they were discussing this TV that was not repairable, the TV that he gave her as a divorce present because it's cheaper than hiring a hitman. Only you guys can assess if you think that might just be a coincidence and nothing more. The Prius is at premiere at 9:16 a.m. The last phone communication between Garcia and Rivera is at 9:16. Afterwards, the phones turn off, consistent with what Rivera told you. We turned our phones off because we knew we were about to commit the murder, and they don't pop back up until I think about 12:30. The bus video catches them turning onto Benton Road to do the murder at 10:51 a.m., whereby they pull up right behind Professor Markel in his driveway. Sigfredo Garcia gets out of the Prius, approaches the driver's window, pointed his gun, and fired. Dan Markel raised his arm to protect himself, but it was no use. Professor Markel was executed at close range, whereby Garcia got back in the Prius and Rivera drove him away. Markel was left there to suffer and die. If not for James Geiger, there's no telling how many hours he might have suffered there alone and unaided. He fought for his life for 14 long hours before he finally succumbed to his injuries. The autopsy confirmed that he was shot twice at close range with a .38 caliber revolver, consistent with what Rivera said they brought as a murder weapon. Next, he was stripped, x-rayed, photographed, and dissected because he had become a piece of evidence. When Garcia and Rivera get back on the road, they're on a second bus video, leaving town at 10:55. That narrows the time of the shooting down to a 4-minute window between 10:51 when they're seen turning on to Benton and 10:55 when they're caught fleeing the scene. And then we've got the 911 call from Mr. Geiger at 11:01 a.m. The first phone call that either Garcia or Rivera make after turning off their phones to do the murder. So first call after that is at 12:30, and it's Garcia to Catherine Magbanua. Magbanua assures them that they'll get their money the next day. This is the same time frame, roughly, that Wendy Adelson was visiting the crime scene. Wendy indicated that she went to turn onto Trescott from Centerville Road, observed a roadblock, and then turned around. But we learned that what she said happened could not have happened. Instead, the roadblock was all the way down here by the blue dot, I've got 2 blue dots. The one at the top left of the page there is where the roadblock was, that yellow line, 3 to 5 houses down from the scene. Trescott and Centerville is all the way down where the other yellow bar is. Visible from the roadblock that she approached and was observed doing so by Officer Brandon were multiple law enforcement vehicles, marked vehicles. There was crime scene tape up. There was a marked vehicle with an officer stationed at the perimeter. It was visible from that position that there was something going on at her kid's house, the house where they lived with their father. And what did Wendy Adelson do upon encountering this roadblock and observing that the police were present on the street where her kids lived? She turned around and proceeded to the liquor store to pick up her bullet bourbon. And the defendant says, well, this is another coincidence because she was asked to bring it to a party. Well, maybe. But the timing of the purchase and the fact that she went out of her way to go by the crime scene on her way to get the bullet bourbon should raise an eyebrow. But it's what she didn't do that's even more suspicious. She didn't ask Officer Brandon, hey, what's going on? She didn't call Danny. She didn't call the police to make any inquiries, or even the daycare to make sure her kids made it there that morning. Remember, Danny had her kids. She didn't even call the daycare. Meanwhile, our shooters are headed back to Miami. They pop up on an ATM camera at 6:45 p.m. in Pembroke Pines, Florida. And then both of their phones are consistent with being at Rivera's residence as of about 7 p.m. that night. At 8:23 p.m., Catherine Ivanova and the defendant make plans to meet up at his house. At 9 p.m., Donna texts the defendant, "Outside your house," to which he responds, "10 men." He told you from the witness stand that this text meant that Donna was just passing by his house on her way to Tallahassee and that they weren't meeting up. But Catherine Ivanova testified that when she arrived at the defendant's house, the defendant advised her that his parents had just been there, and then he thought his mom had physically washed the money, which was damp when Catherine Ivanova received it. Ivanova finds the defendant to be carrying his gun around and in a frantic state. About the time that these two are meeting up at the defendant's house to do the money exchange, Dan Markel is pronounced dead at TMH. So he says he's going to be about 10 minutes out. Here he is hitting at home at 9:40 p.m. At 9:46, we see Catherine Ivanova consistent with being at Rivera's residence, and then consistent with heading toward the defendant's residence. She turns her phone off, and it stays off for 11 hours. When Magdalena's phone pops back up, it's 9:44 a.m. on Saturday morning, and she's headed back from the defendant's house, or the direction of his house, toward Rivera's residence. That's the money drop location. These phones are consistent with a meeting at 10:30 at Rivera's, which is the time, date, and place that he advised us he received his money from Magdalena. At 12:13 p.m., the defendant reaches out to Magdalena. Defendant, headed to the gym. Are you taking the kids to the beach? It's so nice. Magdalena, it's beautiful, probably the pool. Defendant, nice, have fun. Ethan must be happy. This is what he's texting Magdalena within hours of her leaving with all the money in his safe. All of the money that he stared at and loved on since he was a child. And he wants to know if she's going to the pool. This might be a good time to remind you that the jury room is not a place to check your common sense. We want you to bring it in here. You have heard two wildly different versions of how this thing went down, and they can't both be right. I mean, somebody's trying to sell you a bill of goods. You were selected with the belief that you would be able to cut through the garbage and make sense of the evidence in this case and render a verdict that speaks the truth.
My tripod is moving.
A major problem for the defense theory is the idea that the defendant and Magdalena broke up after the murder, but then grew closer together over the next 2 years as she was collecting his monthly extortion payments. This is one of the more unreasonable parts of the defendant's testimony, or well, it's definitely in the top 4, along with Latin King extortion payment plans, hitmen that hire themselves to kill someone that their intended future extortion victim hates, and most unreasonable of all is probably that Charlie Adelson, the guy that talks so tough in the hot tub about his unsavory connections, but an arrogant man of extraordinary resources, a prize fighter of verbosity, would just lay down and take this in silence.
Lots of alliteration.
Let's review some of these love texts. We got that one. Then we've got July 22nd. They're talking about the weather. They're talking about prescription shampoo. On October 6th, the defendant says, "I love you. It makes me feel good that you care about me. I'm very lucky to have you as a part of my life." What? Lucky? Lucky. He says, "I love you" again on 2/24/15. According to him, he's now been making payments for 7 months. He's had her on the payroll for 6 months. No Latin Kings have contacted him in any way about collecting his outstanding debt of $195,000. Yet he continues to pay and love on Catherine Magdalena without reservation and without the slightest suspicion that she might be in on this, and without the slightest concern for helping solve the murder of who killed his brother-in-law. Defendant says he believed Catherine Magdalena wasn't taking any of the money even after he put her on the payroll. Checks are going to her because she seemed broke. Defendant's explanation for all the love texts with Catherine Magdalena is that he felt sorry for her. He felt she was in the same position that he was in, being manipulated in the same way that he was. But the fact remains, folks, that she's taking his money. She's connected to the guy that's extorting him. She's connected to the guy that killed his brother-in-law. It defies logic that he would then proceed to grow closer with her. But he has to say that because he can't get her way around these texts. It also defies reason, based on what we know of this man, that he would take her for her word and just empty his safe into her purse and then keep paying, presumably forever, without asking any questions, talking about it all, or reporting anything to the police. Magdalena began getting checks from Adelson Institute 2 months after Markel's murder, and she continued receiving checks from that time frame up until the bump. The checks stopped happening at the time of the bump, and you should be asking yourself what that means. Why did the checks stop happening? Well, you would reasonably figure they stopped happening because the parties got spooked, because law enforcement, they suspected the bump could be law enforcement, law enforcement might be getting closer, take her off the payroll. If defendant was being extorted, as he told you on the witness stand, why would the payment stop? Why would the extortionist care if other extortionists had jumped on the bandwagon? Why would the bump impact the defendant's existing obligations to the original Latin Kings? The defendant said he put her on the payroll at Adelson Institute at her request to help her get insurance for her kids, with the understanding that the money was being funneled through her to someone else and she wasn't actually getting any of the proceeds. She was just going to use that paycheck to assist her with getting subsidized housing or insurance, I think it was, for her kids. But you can see from this slide, which is dated June 24th, 2014, that she's texting him about getting on the payroll prior to this alleged first extortion effort. He says no problem at that time. This is between the first and second trips. She's asking to be on the payroll. So the explanation for the defendant about why she's on the payroll does not fit with the other evidence in this case. So we've got all this evidence that points to the defendant. The motive points to him. When we follow the money, it leads to him. The Prius eventually leads back to him through these conspirators. And each time we have a big event in this case, we see these call authorities where all the parties are calling each other in that structure that I talked about. It goes from this one to this one to this one. And as the defense points out, these folks had independent relationships with each other that could explain those communication patterns. So without knowing the content, how could we know if they're really talking about the murder or if these call flurries around these key events are just a coincidence? A conspiracy can be shaped like a cluster with everybody talking to everybody. It can be shaped like a wheel with one central hub talking to all the different spokes. Or it can be shaped like a train car, which is what we have here. One person talks to only the car in front of them and the car behind them. Law enforcement was asking these same questions. How is this conspiracy shaped? How does it work? How does information flow through it? What are different parties' relative roles within a conspiracy?
Life.
And the wiretap and bump were designed to answer those questions. Did you notice that Donna Adelson, see how the paper is folded in half? She didn't even look at the paper before she put it in her purse. She didn't think this was a process server. She knew exactly what it was the moment this man approached. And then she just goes about her business. Does she give law enforcement this valuable information that could be used to solve the brutal murder of her son-in-law? I mean, this guy that approached her obviously knows something about who killed Dan Markel, right? So surely she went straight to the cops. Nope. Instead, she goes straight to this defendant, who goes straight to Catherine Alabama, who goes straight to Sigfredo Garcia. In that first call after the bump, Donna says she doesn't want to talk on the phone, but defendant can't leave it alone. He asks, does it involve me or other people? Her answer, well, probably the both of us. Probably both of us. He says, what's that? Probably the two of us. So you probably have a general idea what I'm talking about. He doesn't say, no, I have no general idea what you're talking about. He says, all right. He absolutely does have a general idea what she's talking about. And if they were innocent, as the defendant has claimed, and this was in fact a second extortion attempt, there is not a reason in the world why they wouldn't just say that. I got approached by another one. One came and paid me a visit today. It's happening again. In call B, the defendant asked Donna to take a picture of the bump letter and send it to him, and she refuses. Why? Are the Latin Kings going to see the text? Do you think someone is trying to blackmail you? Maybe. Could be. I don't know. No. That's crazy. That's his response. I'm not adding the emphasis on that syllable. He says it like that. That's crazy. How is it crazy? You're already being extorted by Latin King members. Remember, doctor? Because he hadn't come up with that part yet. In call C, defendant calls back again to tell Donna not to talk about things in the apartment or any place. Why? Why? The Latin Kings aren't there. And she doesn't ask why, because it's obvious. She says, oh, obviously. Why? Because they might be under surveillance? Well, who cares if they have nothing to hide? Here we see the first use of code on the wire. People don't talk in code if they've done nothing wrong. People do not talk in code if they haven't done anything wrong. Defendant knows. I mean, he knows that fact, and that's why I told you we didn't talk in code on the wire. We spoke carefully. What does that mean? Careful of what? Defendant also told you under oath that he regrets that his mom randomly used the word TV in this call as part of her careful talk. The defendant got Wendy Adelson a TV as a divorce present as a cheaper alternative to hiring a hitman. Dan Markel was killed by a hitman. Then the same TV is Wendy's alibi for the murder, a service appointment that her mother set up for her from South Florida. And then on the wire, Donna says, quote, this TV is going to cost about $5. Does the defendant say, what TV? What are you talking about, since you inserted a random object into this triple talk conversation. No, he doesn't need to ask what TV because he knows exactly what she's talking about. And he parrots it back. They asked you for $5,000. The defendant has advised you that this TV stuff is a coincidence. Is it a coincidence, or is it obvious they're referring to their conspiracy in this murder? Only you can decide which explanation is credible. The players in this case are smart. They've given a lot of thought to their preparations before this and to their explanations after. We know the seed was planted in early 2013, and it took over 1 year to come to fruition. And they've really thought of almost everything. A clever TV-related alibi for Wendy, a frame job for Lacasse, and they insulated themselves by hiring Catherine McDaniel as a middleman, walling themselves off like those train cars, only communicating with the one in front and the one behind, and having no connection to the one further down the line. It's also important to note that in these first few calls, A, B, and C, that Donna Adelson describes the bump to the defendant, and she says the person that approached her mentioned an ex-girlfriend, but she does not say the name Katie or Catherine. Then, with only this very limited information, defendant calls only one of his many ex-girlfriends, Catherine McDaniel. In call D, defendant tells McDaniel that he thinks that this undercover, the would-be extortionist, said her name. We know this is true. The undercover did say Katie, but Donna had not yet told the defendant that. They only communicated in calls A, B, and C. And the only communication on those calls was that the person mentioned ex-girlfriend. On the wire, the defendant says he just called Katie, Catherine McDaniel, because she was his most recent ex-girlfriend. Well, we know that's not true because there's at least one woman that defendant will admit meets that definition between McDaniel and the bump, and that's Whitney Kick. On the stand, he told you all that all the you might not be the right Katie conversation. There's several mentions that, yo, I'm not sure you're the right Katie. I apologize. I'll feel stupid if you're not the right Katie. That was designed to reassure her that he was not setting her up. Once defendant meets with his mother and gets the details and the paper with the undercover's phone number, he meets up with Catherine McDaniel at Dolce Vita. If they had any evidence, we'd have already gone to the airport. Does that sound like an innocent man? Even if they bug your phone, you're still not talking about any of this. Talking about what? The cops would only bug your phone to get information about the murder. And if you don't have any, then there's nothing to not talk about. The cops aren't going to be doing a wiretap to investigate him getting extorted, which he hasn't even reported to law enforcement. So, not talk about what? Defendant discusses how he's going to start arming himself and is prepared to shoot. He told you under oath from the stand that he was being threatened and extorted by gang members for 2 years at the time that this recording was made. And now he's just starting to think about carrying a gun? Does this sound like a man that's been living in fear for 2 years? Does this sound like a guy who lays down and takes his lumps without question when threatened? Someone comes up to me asking for money in my house? He says that. Lines 23 and 24 on the top there. He says this as if it's a preposterous proposition that somebody would just walk into his house and demand money. Isn't that what happened to you? How is that preposterous? But wait, what changed? On the next page, he says, yeah. And when guess what? When the fucking police show up and there's a doctor, there's an oral surgeon standing there with a dead gang member in his fucking driveway, they're not going to come down too hard on me. This is the same man who
Sounds like Donna coming out
and swore under oath that he was a victim in this case, and that he had been too paralyzed by fear of gang members to come forward and report his victimization. Dr. Adelson on this recording is the real Dr. Adelson. On the stand, he was so controlled, so knowledgeable about his case, so practiced. But there is no way to explain away his statements on this recording. When the bump happens, you get to observe this defendant in action in his role as fixer, the problem solver. He's working those phones, trying to get Katie to investigate the bump and find out if it's legitimate or not, and also trying to reassure Donna that it's just the cops fishing and it's nothing to worry about. The bump is an actual recorded example of how this defendant acts when he is threatened by a purported extortionist. And how he acts is the complete opposite of how he's telling y'all he acted in the first extortion. Number one, he does not stay quiet about the bump. He talks about it a lot. There are multiple calls with Donna and Katie discussing the bump and what the next step should be. 2, he takes action. There are multiple in-person meetings with his mom and with Katie and eventually with his dad too about the bump and what to do about it. 3, he investigates the bump. He asks questions. He enlists McDaniel to find out who this is. He talks a lot about his concerns that this will not be just a one-time payment, but could turn into some ongoing problem. And 4, he doesn't take it lying down. He threatens Nazi shit if these people think they can threaten his family and get away with it. He suggests that the problem might require an additional murder. Quote, if he can't do it, I'll find someone else that can. Number 5, he's suspicious. He does not blindly accept the representations of this purported blackmailer that approached his mother. It's clear from the Dolce meeting that he doesn't fully trust Katie. He certainly doesn't trust this purported blackmailer that bumped into his mom. The person that represented himself, the person that approached his mom represented himself as a Latin King gang member, right? I'm a brother of this guy that I met in Broward or whatever. And he's demanding money from her. Yet, the defendant does not take his word for it that he's a gang member. He's not so in fear for his mother's life that he opens the safe and gets $5 grand more out and gives it to Katie. A pittance compared to the amount he's telling you he handed out to the first layer of extortion. Number 6, he doesn't pay. He doesn't bring the $5 grand to Dolce and give it to Katie and say, go pay it. Because that's what I do when I threaten to pay. He doesn't pay, he doesn't ever pay. And it's only $5 grand. Instead, he analyzes and thinks through and talks about every possible scenario. Defendant says it's one of two things, or one of two scenarios. One being the cops, 2 being someone actually trying to blackmail his family about this murder. According to him, now he's been blackmailed for 2 years. And he's talking to Catherine Magbano. He's talking to the person that's been collecting his money all those months. But at no point does he acknowledge the first extortion in the Dolce meeting. Why not? Oh, because she asked me not to talk about it. Well, times have changed. There's a second extortion effort now, and they're approaching my mother. You think I'm not going to mention the first extortion? Your people have been running their mouths, and now they've tracked down my mother. You need to go get this under control. Nothing like that. Next in the Dolce recording, defendant begins to explain how to prove a crime. The police have to put the person at the scene, not just in the car. He's reassuring her that even if we, law enforcement, can tie her or the shooters to the Prius, they will never be able to charge them. Because they didn't come to Tallahassee, they didn't shoot anyone, they didn't do anything wrong, and therefore they can't be held accountable. But that is not the law as the judge has instructed you. Everyone who wanted this done and did some act toward accomplishing it is guilty as the one that pulled the trigger. He's also telling her that even if Rivera has run his mouth to this would-be extortionist, his word alone, that, hey, if he goes to the cops and says, starts singing, and says, hey, Rivera told me he did this murder, that's not going to be enough. Basically, that can use the word hearsay, but that's not going to be enough to proceed on an arrest in this case. This person knows information. So Katie, they'll be back. Whoever it is knows information. Information about what? You had nothing to do with it. Remember that after you've been extorted and that hasn't been reported. What information do they have? You mean information that could be used to solve the murder of your former brother-in-law? If so, why wouldn't you want those people to go to the cops? Why wouldn't you want them to come forward with that information? Then the guilty parties will be held accountable. Your extortionists will be jailed without you having to do or risk anything. Next, defendant talks about what will happen if the would-be extortionist undercover is picked up by law enforcement. Next thing you know, this person is singing. Other people start singing. As soon as they have him, he starts calling your name out, and then there's going to be police at your door and at my door. If you're innocent of this murder, why are you worried about the extortionist telling law enforcement whatever it is he knows about the murder of Dan Markel? Defendant says he wants to pay the money. Oh, got ahead of myself. He wants to pay the money, but he's explaining to her the problem with paying is that people might keep coming back or tell their friends who will jump on board as well. He's explaining to her the problems with paying a potential extortionist. What he doesn't say, which is what you would expect if he'd been getting extorted for 2 years, is Garcia or whoever you've been giving my money to has obviously been running their mouths and now they're messing with my mother. Next, he gives instructions. Say my friends have no idea what you're talking about. And frankly, I don't know what you're talking about, but the name sounds familiar of who's incarcerated. So I'm going to give you something as charity to help the less fortunate. But do not contact these people again or they're going to the police. The whole time you're talking, just say, I don't know what's going on. Only use the words help and charity. This isn't the guy described in this first extortion who just rolled over when threatened. He's in control. He's getting the orders. He's getting instructions. Why would you have to give instructions to a blackmailer about how to handle a blackmailer? Next, the defendant says, now he's fucking with his wife and he's fucking with him and you fuck with the king himself, you better kill him because he's going to be a big problem. And he knows who you are. If he can't do it, I'll have someone else do it. Defendant testified that this means the only way to stop Garcia is to kill him. He's not talking about killing him. He's just saying he's a really bad dude, and that's the only way to kill him. The evidence shows that he's saying if Garcia can't handle the undercover, he'll get somebody else to do it. Then he says, and so help me God, if they fuck with my family, it's going to be fucking Nazi shit because this will be done. I mean, Katie, I don't care what I spend, okay? I swear to God. Defendant and I went back and forth on the stand about what Nazi shit might include, and I think we ultimately agreed that that would be killing. And then he says, I don't care what I have to spend. If you're
Yeah, I
struggling to
think
figure out
that's
who
a
this man
correct
is, that's a good
assumption.
clue right there. He's going to buy a solution to this problem, exactly how he paid for a solution to the problem of Dan Markel. Here he wants to know if Garcia has any bad feelings toward him, meaning, is Garcia willing to look into this and handle this for me? Or does he still hate me because I used to date you? If defendant had really been getting extorted all along, surely he'd say something like, I've been paying all this money, I've been compliant with everything. Can you get him to look into this and figure this out?
Problem.
Katie, I'll go to the moon and back for you. Why? Because she did something big for him, and he's going to be indebted to her for the rest of his life. Not because he feels sorry for her, not because she's his protector. He's the protector. He'll go to the moon and back for her because they're neck deep in this conspiracy together. Somebody messes with her, they mess with him. Somebody messes with him, they're messing with her. It's the same thing. Here he's demonstrating an understanding of, a rational understanding of how blackmail works. His example is that you could blackmail someone that's cheating on their wife, meaning you blackmail someone that you have dirt on. You don't go kill somebody and then go up to an innocent person and say, I killed your brother-in-law, give me money. At the end of the conversation, defendant says, you know who this is coming from? Inside. And then I don't want to slide to this, but he goes on to talk about what he will do for her. I don't have to sit here and tell you what I would do. I show you what I could do. You know what I'm saying? You know how I am. I look for things to do. You don't ask me for shit. He accused her of trying to shake him down. So she's trying to extort him. And it states that he would never pay her a dime. In fact, I'm going to get attorney's fees. He's a guy with considerable resources, and he's not a shrinking violet. He is not afraid to use those resources to his advantage. If some street thug was trying to push him around, you think he'd lay down and take that without doing one thing about it? This slide is a composite of some of the occasions defendant mentions the option of going to the police. And these quotes are specifically in reference to him saying, if you're threatened, you go to the police. If you're threatened, you go to the police. And he has done that before, but he did not go to the police in this case. He didn't go to the police in 2014, not out of fear, as he would have you believe, but because he did this crime. He believed he had gotten away with this crime. He didn't go in 2015 because he was busy that year having the best year of his life. Financially, got in a serious relationship with a new girl, June Mchinda, cruised the intercoastal in his boat. This dude had solved the problem. Everyone was happy. Wendy and the boys were back in South Florida where they belong. Mom was happy. He was making money hand over fist. June described the beginning of their relationship. June Mchinda described the beginning of her relationship with this defendant in October of 15 as a fairy tale. He is not sweating anything, folks. And that continued until the time of the bump in this case, in April of 2016, whereby the defendant became agitated, angry, and anxious. This was before the report concerning him was leaked. At the time of the bump, his behavior changed noticeably. June noticed it, and Ryan Fitzpatrick noticed it as well. He was erratic. Now, why on earth would he be more stressed out after his extortionists were arrested?
Right.
He seemed perfectly fine to these witnesses when he would have you believe he was in fear for his life. And then he further told you that he was more nervous after the arrest because he feared he'd be falsely arrested. Why? You didn't do anything wrong, you're not gonna get arrested. Now, yeah, after the report gets leaked, okay, but why are you so nervous before that? Or were you a hot mess because you knew that we were getting closer? Here's
I'm a
Catherine
hot mess,
Magdalena and the defendant
depending on the
discussing
day.
if the undercover could be someone who's trying to be an informant. An informant for what, if not the death of Dan Markel? He's not going to be an informant on the defendant getting extorted, a crime he has not reported. Here they're talking about whether the undercover is getting his information from the inside or the outside. The inside means someone within the murder conspiracy, someone on that board, or the outside, somebody that one of those people told. Magdalena says it can only be one of two, apparently. If somebody's that desperate, not from the inside, because there's too much from the inside that the person knows from the outside, so they won't risk it. That's why I know for a fact it's not from the inside. And then Adelson says, it's somebody not from the first layer, but probably the second layer. Yeah, and they just made a big mistake, she says. As the wire goes on and the defendant proceeds to continue to analyze the additional bump efforts that law enforcement makes, that text message, the letter, the call to the Adelson Institute, he becomes increasingly confident that this would-be extortionist is an undercover agent. And then after listening to Donna's call to the undercover, he is completely sure of that. And you have never seen anybody so elated to be under investigation by the FBI for first-degree murder. Consider this in light of defendant's assertions that he was acting strangely after the bump because he was worried about being falsely arrested. To the contrary, he doesn't seem worried at all. He seems thrilled. I think he says it's fantastic in one of these calls. I want to turn briefly to your jury instructions. The defendant is charged with conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation to commit murder, and first-degree murder. Why all three? because the defendant didn't just ask Catherine McManus to do this and promise her money. He didn't just set a plan of action in place toward doing it.
She introduced
It got
them.
done.
She
It got
got
done. And that's what makes it
the
a murder. It's
money,
difference between just conspiring.
and it got
You didn't just
done.
conspire. It got done. This is the difference between just soliciting or just conspiring and being a principal to first-degree murder.
I was explaining
To
that
prove the
to my
crime of
mom
first-degree
today.
murder, I
Like,
must
they
prove to
really
you that this
came
was
down hard on her.
Premeditation is
Yes,
defined
Mama.
as killing after consciously intending to do so. This murder, consciously deciding to do so. All right, so this murder was in the works for over a year. It began with the failed relocation efforts. When defendant first looked into hiring a hitman, it took root when he enlisted Catherine McManus, and she thereby brought in Garcia and Rivera to do
You
the
look
killing.
nice.
The planning that went into the killing was extensive, spanning over a year, and it included the solicitation of McManus to find someone to do the murder, the preparation of that letter and that envelope that were placed in Catherine McManus' diaper bag, free of DNA or prints containing the directions for a murder that was delivered to the hired gun, Secretary Garcia. 3, the payments that were made in advance for renting the vehicles in the hotel room, and expenses associated with those trips. That was part of the planning. 4, the scouting and stalking of Professor Markel that we learned went on in both trips. And 5, the pressure that defendant applied to Catherine McManus after that first attempt failed. Get it done, get it done, get it done. 6, of course, is the payment itself. He paid for it. All the planning, all the meetings, all the precautions were coming to fruition when that hired gun fired those 2 shots that devastated so many lives on July 18th, 2014. When you think about how this case was proven, we started at a single point, the crime scene, and we went in 2 totally different directions. We chased the Prius and we chased the motive, the bad blood of the in-laws. And the investigation could have stalled if either of these leads had resulted in a dead end. But all the little breadcrumbs led to the same place. The Prius led to Garcia and Rivera, which led to McManus. Bad blood and divorce led to the Adelson family. The wire confirmed the defendant's specific involvement, not just some Adelson, that Adelson. Then Rivera and eventually McManus confirmed his involvement as well. I want to spend a moment talking about the principal instruction. We talked about this in jury selection. The defendant didn't pull the trigger, but that doesn't mean he's just as responsible as the person who did. Without every player in this conspiracy, the murder doesn't get done. In your jury instructions, it says there are 2 ways to prove defendant's guilt under the law of principles. If he intended that the murder be done and he did some act, preparing the paper, procuring McManus, or said some word, get it done, get it done, get it done, that caused or helped another to commit the crime, then he is guilty of first-degree murder. Or 2 ways you can find it. Or if he intended the murder to be done and he made or promised payment in exchange for the murder and the crime was committed by another person, he's guilty of first-degree murder. My burden today is to prove to you this case beyond a reasonable doubt. The jury instructions tell you that a reasonable doubt is not a mere possible doubt, a speculative, imaginary, or forced doubt. So when you're stuck back there deliberating, ask yourself, what is reasonable? When you're weighing a piece of evidence and deciding, like, is this a doubt or not? Is it reasonable? Does it fit the other evidence in the case? If you find yourself saying, what if, or a fellow juror saying, what if, without evidence to support whatever it is that comes after the what if, that's speculation. Remind your fellow jurors to get back on track. And that cannot be a reasonable doubt if it's speculation. My burden is to prove the elements of the listed offenses. Nothing more. If you have a question that I have failed to prove the answer to, but it's not one of these elements of the crime that the judge has given you, that is not a reasonable doubt. I'm concerned that you'll get back there and think, well, he didn't pull the trigger, so let's just do conspiracy and solicitation. You guys have worked too hard to render a compromised verdict at this point. I trust that each of you will follow the law and your oath to render a wise and legal verdict in this case. This defendant is guilty of first-degree murder under the principal theory, if ever anyone has been. So the efforts to distract you from this case and what it's really about, including these clear links in this conspiracy and all the evidence that establishes them, the text, the calls, the records, the testimony, and Rivera, testimony of McManus, all those things together. The wiretap, the phone calls, the iCloud messages, and the absence of any other reasonable explanation should all lead you to one conclusion. This is the puzzle. This is the puzzle. The image is clear. When I confronted Rivera with the defense theory that he and Garcia acted alone to kill Markel and then extorted money out of the dentist through McManus, he found it laughable. I wrote down his quote, that's a good one. It came out in this trial that in Garcia's trial, Rivera was portrayed as the sole killer, the bad guy. He conspired directly with Charlie Adelson, according to Garcia, to commit the murder through WhatsApp or some kind of way. Garcia's lawyer said this was all done without the knowledge and participation of Garcia. Then we learned in McManus' trial, Garcia supposedly conspired directly.
Maybe that that was the defense attorney. He's like, I have to pee, and if I have to pee, I'm sure everyone else has to pee as well. Hi, Chosen. We don't know. I am gonna replay a video from December that did really well and see if that helped. I mean, even so, the other night after I finished my live stream, I randomly was asked to go on someone else's
Here to
show.
rely on your memories of what took place during the testimony and evidence. You may continue with your argument.
Can you hear me? I mean, I'll cover that,
Now,
but
here we are in the trial
I need
of Charlie
videos
Adelson,
of
and the
courtroom.
truth has been revealed. Once again, the state got this
trial
almost
stuff.
right. That's what you heard in the opening from Mr. Rashbaum. We understandably thought we understandably thought that his client, Mr. Adelson, was the hirer of this murder, but there's a twist. Nothing is as it appears to be. The defendant is really the second victim in all of this. Per his theory, the killers drove to Miami twice to kill someone they'd never met and had no motive to kill, in hopes that Charlie Adelson would, one, not report them for murder, and two, would instead agree to give them large amounts of cash at that time and on a payment plan over the next, years. Other than failing the smell test, there are a few specific problems with the defense theory. One, how would the killers have known where to go to kill Markel? How would they know who to kill? How would the killers have known that Dan Markel was scheduled to leave town the day after the murder? Three, possibly the biggest problem, the theory itself makes no sense.
This has happened
Were they just hoping that this would work?
before my
We're gonna go all the way
channel.
out there and kill somebody, and maybe they'll give us some money. If they were going to confess to doing the murder to Charlie Adelson in order to try to get money, why not just put a gun to his head and take his money? Why not just rob and or extort him with the threat of death by Latin King? That would save you the trip and the murder rap. Their jigsaw puzzle theory is just a pile of pieces that don't fit together. Each explanation is carefully designed to explain one piece of evidence. But how many different explanations can you string together before it's no longer reasonable? How many coincidences can there be before it's no longer a coincidence? This defendant is not a victim. He's a criminal. He's wealthy, he's smart, and he's successful. But he's a wealthy, smart, successful murderer. My work is almost done here, and yours is just beginning. I trust that each of you will do your best to render a wise and legal verdict in this case. A verdict that speaks the truth, a just verdict. And that is a verdict of guilty as charged. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Maybe you just have a couple moments to set up.
Okay. You may set up.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna do fireworks though? Honestly,
Right while they're
Chosen,
setting up, the bailiff will escort you back
I
into
was
the jury room.
about to log off. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm still, you know what? I'm still gonna do that, but I'm gonna explain myself. So if you are watching, thanks. It has been to put it mildly, it has been like a disproportionately horrible month on YouTube. You've also probably heard me say that last month I went on a trip, and I went on an international trip, and I did have Wi-Fi, but it was not very good. There was really bad weather, and we had Starlink, and the ship just had problems. It was a cruise, and it made it very difficult to post, along with the schedule of where we were and what country we were in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I came back from vacation and I felt great, but it really negatively impacted my channel. My last stream, which was a month ago tonight, had 62,000 views, and that was before I left for vacation. And when I came back from vacation, the very first stream I did got like 10,000. And I was like, okay, well, that's low, but it's okay. I was on vacation. And it did not get better. It continued, let me get rid of this. It continued to get so much worse. And there were points today during the stream where I had like 0 viewers. And we, meaning my mods and I, we have racked our brains trying to figure out like what is going on, because YouTube has rolled out some new stuff that they're doing. According to the YouTube revisions and changes, I shouldn't be getting affected negatively. If anything, it should be benefiting me. And I say this as someone who, for several months, I had a very low viewer count. Like, no one watched, no one, but Maybe did. And that's why I love Maybe so much. She's been with me since the low days. And then it took off, and it literally happens what feels like overnight. It just, one stream just really kicks it off. And as long as you are consistent and I mean, you're not a total bore, then it works. And 2 things today. Maybe had some family stuff that she had to attend to. So, and I can't always depend on Maybe. Period. The other thing is, when there aren't very many people in the chat, it's difficult to just talk with myself, you know? So I wouldn't be lying if I said I haven't lost sleep over it. I'm really concerned, but I also know at the same token, like, it can change like that. And even though I've had the low numbers, like, I've been remaining consistent so that I can get back on the good graces with the algorithm. And that's been my mindset. It's just one of those like really tough, really tough times. I gained over 200 subs this week just from going on my friend's show in a completely random capacity. And she had like 1.5 thousand people watching at the time. So this is going to be the end of the Adelson case. You know, it was like 2 years ago, but maybe 3, but it just isn't bringing that interest. And I think what I'm going to do is restream, like I said, something that worked out really well for me a few months ago. And I am absolutely open to your thoughts and opinions. And I am so grateful that you're even listening to this, if you are. And if you are, I would appreciate it tremendously if you could make sure to like the stream. And if you aren't already a subscribe member or subscriber, that would help tremendously as well. So just hit that button. It's free. And if you love this, we also have paid memberships where I do members only streams, and you have your own emojis and you get your own discounts on things, and you get your comments posted at the top. So I am going to keep trucking. I'm going to give this some more time. But I appreciate everyone who has shown up and who has been supportive. And this is just a bump. This is just a bump in the road, and we'll get over it. But it's just a pain in the butt in the process. So thank you so much. And I will be back like I always am on Tuesday through Friday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern is when I go on. And what else was I going to say? I will be doing a stream on Monday. It might be short. It even might be a members only stream, but I feel like it's an appropriate thing to do since it's a federal holiday. Okay, guys. So if you're not a member, just make sure to press the notifications bell on my YouTube channel so that you get notified whenever I go live. And with that being said, I am so appreciative of your time. I know you could be 100 different places, but you're here with me, and that means so much to me. So I hope you have a great night and a lovely weekend, and we'll talk soon. All right, bye.